All right, we'll give it a second here. It'll count in a second. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. And I know we have people in all those time zones. So, welcome for the Saturday night AP Studios Live. We'll see who all's in here. My guest tonight is Mr. Joshua, Bayou Josh, and he's here to answer questions about the Z9 and his experience so far. Since a lot of people are asking questions, he decided to go live tonight and just answer them right here. So, just so you folks know, the phone line is open. I think WhatsApp, I have WhatsApp on the phone. So, if you want to call in WhatsApp, you can do that with the US prefix. And the number is coming up right here. Boom. I just ask if you guys call in to talk to Josh, kind of keep it short because there may be others that want to do the same thing. But by all means, throw some comments in the chat and start asking questions. Good to see everybody here so far. Art
You are high
Bear,
tech, Chuck. This is
Mike.
some high tech stuff.
You like that?
Yeah, man. It's like a
David
full-fledged broadcast.
and Charles. All
Hey,
right, man.
Charles. Hey, Mike.
I,
Hey, David. That's Art. Or who's that? ATR Bear?
yeah, Art Bear, Ted.
Yeah, Ted. Hey, Ted.
So yeah, man. I'm glad you got a hold of me, Josh, and let's have
Yeah.
some fun. Let's answer some questions, and I'm going to get out of the way and see if anybody has anything right off the bat. Let you talk for a minute, maybe set up what you're about to do.
Yeah, I appreciate it. You get these cameras and you start posting videos and you know how it is when the questions come flooding in and I got a little overwhelmed with the last ones. I had to start putting a couple of canned responses. So if they started looking the same, I apologize. But yeah, a lot of thank yous, and I appreciate it. But kind of the overwhelming, kind of the overwhelming thing with these Z9s is people want to know about that autofocus system, and now that more people are getting in their hands, you're getting more stuff out there that I don't want to say they're contradictory, but one guy might tell you to set your camera up this way, and another guy another way. But I don't know about you, Chuck. I mean, you get 10 guys in a room, you're going to get 10 different ways to set up a camera. And
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, I gotta encourage people: don't listen to guys like me and all these other guys on YouTube and think that that's the end all for 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 setups. You got to get out there, you got to experiment, you got to figure out what works for you.
Josh, are you finding that it's going to take a little time to really work out all the settings and the way you want to set that camera up? I am.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what happened, so I 2 Saturdays ago, I was out in New Mexico with my friend Lewis, and I think you saw that video,
Mm-hmm.
and I borrowed his, and I just totally screwed it up. I mean, I can't tell you how horrible, some of the images I made were. I mean, I just you get excited, you like a kid, and to top it off, started the entire process at 6 in the morning and the sun wasn't up, and in my excitement, I probably underexposed, 75% of my first 2 hours worth of images. Um, but I learned a lot, right? So what happens is that first few moments, you're gonna make your mistakes, and then you're gonna adjust fire. You're gonna reboot and try to figure it out. But look, the last couple of weeks, I have changed my autofocus buttons. I've changed, front and back button, what does what. I've turned
Right.
front button totally off. I've changed what my 3 function buttons do 3 times already.
Yeah.
The more I play with it, the more I'm changing it. So, yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. Hey, there's my buddy Chris. Hey, Chris. Hey, Ike. Hey, Roy. Man. Oh, look, Jeffrey. Hey, Jeffrey. How's it going, buddy? Appreciate you guys. So who's that? So what's my favorite focal length? Where was that question at? Was that
That was Roy.
yeah. So I just ordered that 400 millimeter 2.8, and
Oh,
my problem is I don't have a favorite focal length. I have a favorite image in my head every time, which you want perfection. And the cool thing about that 400 2.8 that's coming is it gives you tons of flexibility. Um, So I ordered that with the 1.4 teleconverter built in, plus I ordered a 1.4 teleconverter with it. So I'm gonna test that out and see how that works. But that gives you all the way, not including DX mode, it gives you from 400 all the way to 780, 760. I never was good
Yeah,
at math. What?
760, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
760. So my favorite focal length is flexibility. If that's flexibility f 2 point whatever. Just I need to be flexible because here's the fact. When you're photographing birds and wildlife, they're not sitting still 90% of the time. They're moving around. They're jumping, in and out of different focal planes. So flexibility matters. And I learned with that big, massive 600 prime that I shot with for a while, that just isn't my favorite focal length. I can't stand being stuck right there at 600 and things flying inside your minimum focal length and then you're stuck in one spot because you're on a tripod. But yeah, I like flexibility. If they had a 2.8 zoom from 100 to 600, I'd buy that.
Well, a lot of people are waiting on that 2 to 600. It's not going to be an S
Yeah.
lens, but who knows what it's going to be like. I mean, if it's anything like the lenses they put out so far, it should be pretty incredible. I don't know, but I think a lot of people are waiting on it.
Yeah,
But hey,
I'm
you got
adjusting
to
camera
admit,
here.
with that 600, when they're in the right spot, man, that is just butter. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
there's no
just,
doubt about it. Yeah, that's a
here we
fact.
go.
So, first one, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. I don't know what happened.
Coming through.
We're good to go here.
Yeah,
David, is it
no,
you? Oh, I can hear him. I just don't
can't patch him
understand
in.
why
Not
I
patching him
can't.
in.
Yeah, he's sorry, David. I don't know what it is. It was fine. Yeah, I can barely hear you, but I can hear you. Everything was fine a week ago.
That's the way it works, huh? Give it a
Try
few
again in
days
a
and
few
it'll all
minutes,
fall
David.
apart. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that 600. When you're in the perfect situation, there's nothing better. That the fall off, the depth of field, everything's beautiful about it. But you're not always in the perfect situation, right? I mean, you have to basically plant yourself somewhere and be ready to be in the perfect situation. Let's see if this
How
one
about
works.
now, buddy? I don't know. Hang on a second.
How do you have it interface through, Chuck? What are you doing to interface it?
Through my Roadcaster
Oh, there
Pro,
you go. Yeah. You,
and everything is good. So I have no idea why. There you go.
there
Okay,
you
I
go.
can hear you really well now.
All right.
There's David.
Go ahead, David. We can hear you.
Okay, I'm not too sure if I can hear Josh, but I got my Z9 yesterday, and I had it out last night, and I was shooting a statue in the dark that was black, and the autofocus worked. I was using ISO 3200 with my 24 to 120, and I am really surprised at what that thing will do.
Just
So
grab the eye
But
immediately, huh?
can you hear Josh?
So did
no,
it just
not that well.
did it just grab the what kind of statue was it, David?
Oh, it was a bronze statue. It's been up for at least 50 years, and the color of it is the same color as your hat.
Yeah.
You know, and it just picked it out against the dark sky, and I was really surprised. But I really like your videos, Josh, and keep up the great work. And I would say don't change a thing because you'll get bored if you do. if you don't. But
Yeah.
it's nice to see you and your wife out there enjoying yourself. And
Well,
I'll let you
I
go,
appreciate it.
and yeah, and then I can get back to listening to you. Okay, goodbye.
Well, thank you so much. Bye, David. We appreciate it. Yeah, it's funny you say that about the autofocus in the dark. I I get confused sometimes because the EVF, I think there's a setting in there I haven't quite figured out. Um, I'll snap a shot. It'll say I'm at ISO 3200, and I think that EVF is showing brighter than it actually is when it's darker outside to help us see. And what's happened over, the last year or so with those Z6s is I've come to rely on that EVF to kind of know if I'm in the right ballpark with my exposures, and I'm getting a lot of underexposed shots when I start bringing them into Lightroom. So I'm not trusting the EVF as much as I used to because that EVF, it seems like, and I may be wrong about this, it seems like it's adjusting a little bit to help us be able to see our subject. And only when it's darker, though. When it's bright outside, I don't have that problem. But as it gets darker and darker, and I'm relying on that EVF, I'm getting kind of false readings as to how well exposed I am. So I'm watching that meter line down at the bottom a lot closer when I'm at those higher ISOs. But you're absolutely right, David. That thing grabs focus in some of the darkest conditions. I mean, just absolutely surprises you. To this evening on the way home, we stopped off and we found a mess of red-winged blackbirds, and the sun was down below the mountains. We were in heavy shadow, and I mean, just a black bird against a dark background, and it just grabbed the eye of this tiny little 5-inch bird that was 25 feet away from, 30 feet away from me. So that Z9 is going to amaze you every time you pick it up under all kinds of circumstances. Perfect? No. But autofocus in dark conditions, absolutely. So yeah, good point, David. Definitely a good point.
So we do have a lot of comments too
Yeah.
in here. Let's see. So I'm just going back here. Ike's got his Z9. He's had it for a while. Ike,
Yep.
I haven't seen you producing anything, or is YouTube just ghosting you or something? So I'm just gonna have to go to your channel, I guess, and keep checking. But I'll throw this up there.
Okay. Auto brightness on I've never had that issue on the Z. Okay. All right. So that makes perfect sense. So in the settings menu, what is that under, Ike? Can you put that up in the feed for everybody? Sorry, I got mine right here, just looking in it. So EVF brightness.
Jeffrey, I know you've been all over the manual. Can you shed some light, no pun intended, on this question?
Look at that. EVF steps for exposure control. Easy exposure. Nope.
Yes, you sure can.
Yeah,
Ike,
call
no
on in,
problem,
Ike.
buddy.
Yeah, that's good to know, Ike. I appreciate you saying that because I did not have that problem with the Z6 or the Z6 II. When it was dark in that EVF, which meant I had to bump up the ISO and lower that shutter speed. Do you think that this time a manual read would be necessary, Ted? I've never read a manual. Have you ever read a manual?
No. And I'm sad to say I haven't, but then again, I don't get on the internet and ask everybody every question. I can figure most of it out, and then I'm smart enough to sit back and wait until somebody else asks it.
Yeah, yeah. And that's we're just kind of to that point in life where you can just Google it, right? And
Yeah,
thanks to guys like what's his name? He did a good job. He put out a good 4-part.
Hudson Henry,
Yeah,
Steve
Henry
Perry.
Hudson. Yeah, he put out a
Yep.
great. The problem with me is it's hard for me to watch those too. So it's like if I'm looking for
Yeah.
something specific, I just ask the question, go to a forum, and hope somebody will instantly answer it. Because as much as I love
Yeah.
Henry, he's a fantastic photographer and a great videographer. I'm just not patient enough to sit through those things. So hopefully he's got those time stamped where I can just figure out what he's talking about and when, and I can use it like a catalog. But yeah, I don't use the manual. I can't.
That's a
I guess
good idea,
ADD or something.
Roy. Just download the PDF. And the one thing it is it's searchable.
Yeah,
That'd
word
be the
search it.
quickest
Good
and
point.
easiest way. That's a good idea. Hey, Hank, thanks for the sub today. And by the way, let me get on my little bandwagon for a second while we wait for Mr. Ike to call in. And Ike, you can call anytime you want, brother. Yeah, if you guys would drop me a like and a sub, I'm still trying to get to the 500 sub mark. I know this sounds terrible, but it allows me to put up polls and things like that. And that's what I want to do, and put up cards and say, hey, here's what we're going to talk about and all that kind of stuff. So if you'd be so kind, I would appreciate it. Thank you. That is the public service announcement for the show.
I am subscribed. I just want you to know that. All right. In the setup menu, you have viewfinder brightness either at auto or you choose a number manually. Okay. I'll check that for sure.
Hey, Jeffrey, I got a question on that. Is it, can you set that up in one of the function buttons? Not that you want to waste a function button, but that might be something important to go from auto during the day to, have it preset for something at night and just be able to switch to it real quick. Do you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's
the thing about this camera is it's so controllable through all of the customization and buttons, banks, and everything else.
So Hank is poking fun at me a little bit. Owl animal control
instead
only.
of the multi or auto. Yeah.
So we I got a lot of comments about that on the last video. I had the auto set up, right? It was the person, animal, or auto. And I never thought to just click down and switch it to animal, and it did pretty darn good. And I'm going to tell you, Hank, you are absolutely right. When I switched it to animal only, this last 3 days since I posted that video, I switched it the moment somebody made that comment. And I've been out every day since, and it has made a world of difference. So for anybody wondering out there, does it matter if you're on auto tracking, which allows all three, or if you have just animal? It definitely makes a difference when you're just on animal.
A few weeks ago, I saw somebody reviewing that and talking about it and saying when it's in auto mode, it looks for people first.
Yeah.
Then it goes to animals and then to vehicles. So you just eliminate that initial search, I guess, by going to animal automatic. Is that true? I don't know. This is what he was saying.
Yeah. So just go straight to animal. If you want to prioritize animal, put it on animal, and then vice versa.
All right, buddy. Can you hear us? Here we go again. Why am I not hearing it?
Hello?
There you go. All right.
Yes, I'd like to order a number one with a double cheese, extra pickles, no fries.
We're out of pickles.
Oh, this guy, huh?
This is McDonald's. Oh,
what's up, Ike? How you doing, brother?
What's up, Ike?
Nothing. I just wanted to call into the show.
Right.
Hey, everybody.
All right. Yeah. Well, welcome to the show.
So walk us through that. Walk us through that EVF, Ike. How do you change that?
No. So check it out. Right. This is the thing. I was like, oh crap. I was shooting the other day, and I was like taking a shot, but the exposure was off, and I was like, is this going to be one of those situations where like I'm shooting and I'm off by a stop because the EVF is not accurate? And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, crap. So
we dropped you. What happened there?
Okay, so I went and checked, and I was like, oh, auto brightness is set to on. So I cut that off because my Z, because I noticed like if I like look, let's say I'm looking through the viewfinder and I turn it one way, then turn it up, I've noticed like there was a small shift in brightness. And I was like, what's that about? It should just be the same no matter what, because my exposure should control the brightness. But apparently like the auto brightness is set to on, so you got to cut that off. And I didn't know that. And so like, I was using it like I use my Z6, Z7. And I'm like, why are my exposures off? Like I have the exposure set, and it's supposed to be what you see is what you get. But I wasn't getting what I was seeing. So Yeah, that's the thing.
So what is that under, Ike? What menu option is that?
It's under like the screwdriver. You know, the main
Okay.
settings where like you like format memory card, wherever that is, it's in that
Yep.
setting somewhere.
Hey, buddy, if you
View
want
finder
tech
brightness
advice,
auto.
come to
Yeah.
my channel.
Yeah, I think I was like browsing through and I was like, what's going on here? So I was like, oh, auto, and then so that's when I
Look
went
at
through
that.
and I saw like all of the settings for the brightness, and you have to put your eye up to the EVF to even see because they won't let you do
Yep.
it like looking at it. You have to put your eye up, but that thing does get really bright. Like I was like, oh crap! Like you can actually set it to a super bright setting and it gets super bright. But I was like, yeah, I don't need that.
You know, that was one of the things that they said, and it may have been in one of the teasers or soon after in the announcement. They talked about the
That's it.
brightness of the EVF and how much that improved shooting during day, bright conditions, and everything else. But they never
And I'm
really.
thinking that, yeah, and I think that's probably why it's set to auto because they want people to experience it. Because if you
Mhm.
don't, it's just normal, like darker. It's like a darker one normally, which I set it to whatever I think is going to be close. So I took some test shots and I think I found like a good, spot where it's like it's going to be accurate to what I shoot, like how it
Yeah.
looks the exposure. But you can set it goes like up to like high one and it's super bright. And I'm like, oh wow, this is actually really bright. But I don't like. I want my exposures to look like what that's to me that's part of why I did mirrorless is the EVF just
Yeah.
makes exposing easy, and I shoot weddings like
Yeah.
I'm always in different conditions, so like if I'm shooting against the sun and I turn around and shoot into the sun, I want to be able to quickly adjust and have my stuff on. Like I edit my weddings much quicker now because all my exposures are on point. So
What you see is what you get, is what you
What
want.
did
Yeah.
what did you find was the best level for you? It's 1
I have it
through
as a medium one, I think.
okay, yeah, so that looks about right for me too. Okay, yeah,
I
8
feel like
is the
it's
highest,
I
minus
think
5 is
like
the lowest.
I think the default one I think works to me is like the closest to the what you see is what you get type of
Yeah.
exposure. I think maybe like one notch up might be better.
Okay.
For some reason, I'm like, dang, like what you see is what you get pretty dark. But then again, you know how like the correct exposure is darker than what it looks like in real life sometimes, so it throws you off because you're like, dang, my EVF is dark, but through my camera, that's what the exposure looks like. But then when I put the camera away from my eye, life is a little bit brighter than what it looks like in this thing. So sometimes that's all. It's a challenge.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Listen, like we said from the beginning, I got a feeling this is going to be every week we're going to learn something new about this camera.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah,
the
no, it
menus
really
are
is one
so
of those,
deep on
like-
this one.
Yeah, it's like, if you're somebody who is used to the Z6 and the Z7, like the back of your hand, if you pick up a Z9, it's a little different. It takes a little. That's why I've been kind of reluctant to like give opinions because there's some things I'm still trying to figure out. Like, oh wait, I don't want to make a video about something, and then the next day I learn like, oh well, this whole opinion is invalid now because I just figured out how to do the thing I complained about.
Well, hey,
I don't
just
want to be
act
one
like
of
a
the
dummy
people
like
that's
I
doing
do.
that.
Yeah, just act
exactly.
like just let everybody know how dumb you are up front, like I do. And I tell people right up front, I'm probably going to fall on my face 5 times with this thing. So just watch and laugh. And that's
Bayou's videos. But is that saying in Bayou?
Yeah, Bayou Josh, you got it. Yeah.
Your videos feel like a PBS special, okay?
That's the 3rd time this week I was
Hey,
referred to
tell me it
public
doesn't
radio or
calm you down
PBS.
watching his video.
Oh,
like,
man.
I was like, what kind of PBS message? What is going on? He's like, yeah, and so we went off into the wilderness. Check this out. He pulls up the camera like, oh, snap.
That's funny.
Like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was on a podcast this week, and the guy introduced me as the public radio version of Nikon. You know what I mean? The
exactly.
NPR version. Like, all right.
Yeah, I don't care what they say, Josh. I'm serious. Your videos are great. Everything about them. And I'm not just blowing smoke here. I truly enjoy watching them, and it's relaxing.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna lie. I don't even like care for shooting. I'm like, oh, bird, yeah, next. But I was like, dang, I was engaged though. I'm like, dang it, I'm still watching this video. All right, cool.
That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, So you're a YouTuber, right? I mean, so you've been down this rabbit hole. The problem is how do you avoid getting too sandwiched in, right? Like where
Yeah.
all you are is that one guy and you can't kind of branch
Hmm.
out. And that's the one thing I
Yep.
struggle with a little bit, like what am I going to do this year to bring in, some more people? Because I feel like the videos are more than just birds, right? I mean, we talk about other stuff and we're traveling and it's about marriage and it's about life. Um, but as long as I got birds and cameras on there, I'm pretty much going to attract all the bird and camera guys.
But I think
So
that's where we go wrong too if we're not careful, because you move outside what you're comfortable with, and that's what people are comfortable with. They come to see that,
yeah,
and hear that. Um, I guess you can experiment and then watch analytics to see if it goes up or down. But I mean, that's why we tune in to watch your videos, because it's consistent. And I'm not going to tell you, hey, don't change anything. If you want to do that, by all means, do it. But
well, change is a subjective thing. I mean, what am I, who am I is going to be the same. Um, but like this year, Katie is we're buying her a camera setup, and we're gonna do a lot of videos about her figuring it out, right? And her and I together trying to learn this thing. And she's adamant she wants a Sony, so I'm buying the A7 IV with the 200 to 600 for her, and so that's going to be another element that we're going to add to the videos is her trying to figure it out.
God
Um,
bless you, brother. But
it,
it's like I tried to take my wife fishing, and from that point forward, I'd never fished.
well,
Oh
yeah, I
wow.
know.
I spent all my time.
Well,
Well,
she's
you know
done
the
it
deal.
before. Here's the agreement we have, and I got a feeling she'll be peeking around the corner any minute. The agreement is I do all the editing. She just wants to snap the pictures, take some videos, and just hand it over to me, and I figure it out. I think that's the part she was frustrated with more than anything. Which that's the beautiful thing about YouTube is I can make the story whatever I want. If we go out there and we fall on our face, that's the story, right? If we go out there and we have an amazing, successful time, that's the story.
Right.
No matter what happens, there's a story in there.
No, I
So
think it'll be good, buddy.
yeah, yeah. But you're going to see a family divided because she wants that Sony. One of her friends, Aaron, has it, and it's so light, but even though that's really the same weight as the Nikon, she's just got it in her brain that it's lighter. But hey, have you picked up that A7 IV and looked through that autofocus and it's as good as the Z9 and it's $2,500.
Yep.
So a little piece of me is like, yeah, I can get her that. And it's yeah, it'll just make it easier for her because it's difficult with that Z6 to get good images compared to what you can get with that A7 IV or the Z9.
Well, that's that whole other subject. We're not going to go into it
Well,
tonight, but
yeah,
I
I
I
know.
was on it Wednesday. Nikon's got to fill the gap. There is a gap.
Yep,
And
yep, and they
they need
will.
to drop the Z7 moniker because that's got too much negative attached to it. No matter how
Yeah,
good they make it,
yeah.
and move on to the Z8 or whatever they're going to call it, and they've got to fill that gap. You've got to have something comparable in that gap. And the Z9 is
You
a
mean
great way forward.
Yeah.
you mean like as far as like having the performance of it, like in a cheaper package?
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the Z9 remade,
Mm-mm.
but it's got to be. Here you go. It's got to be comparable to the R5, the Sony
Yeah, yeah.
A7S III,
Hmm.
and the 4. It has to. It has to. That's the gap that's missing right now. And you know what? They can do that with the Z7. With the Z7 III. But I think they need to just get rid of the Z7. It was the entry. It got us here. Let it die a wonderful death. And
You
let's
know what?
Well,
move
I could
forward.
see that. Yeah, I could see like a Z8 with like a third, like a a Z8 with a 30-minute same processor, 30-minute 8Ks or something like that because it's a smaller body. So like maybe like a 20-minute 8K limit or whatever, 4K 60.
Yeah.
Something like that with just the same quality autofocus, and then
Well,
like a Z6.
4K is the new standard, so it obviously has to have that standard all the way up to 120. And it could have, you're right, a shorter life 8K mode or whatever, But the bottom line is that's what's missing, and that's what a whole lot of people are waiting for. And if Nikon sits on their laurels too long, we're going to be in the same boat. So it's got to happen this year, my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think it
So,
will.
so I think
Yeah, no,
you and I talked. Go ahead, Ike.
No. I was gonna say, so I'm with my family right now. We're in Seabrook, and I'm, taking pictures of my kids running around the beach, and just to like look through the EVF and watch the AF focus on the back of her head as my kid's running in the distance, and it still keep like I was just like, and if you're somebody who's been, I got again, I say this, I got the Z6 day one, the original Z day one. I rented the Z7 when it first came out. Then the Z6 came out. So I've been using these cameras since they first appeared. And like the performance jump in the Z9, I'm just like, man, the second that they announced this kind of performance in the lower price models, it's over. Like there's nothing else that Nikon needs to do. The only thing they would need to do is just maybe come out with like a different type of camera. And like I've been using video because I do video for fun, whatever. And I've been also appreciating how good the video is in the Z6 with the 10-bit because I made a post on Instagram about the Z6 colors. And, Bayou, I can tell you shoot video on the Z because your colors are great. So I'm like, he has to be shooting video.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I was just like, man, the colors are so pretty and it's so easy to edit. And then now that they introduced 10-bit internal and, in-log internal and like in ProRes internal, like, these are really great features that Nikon could kind of like take over and give people. Let's say like you're a Panasonic user and you're like, I'm tired of Panasonic. I don't see it stealing Sony customers away or even Canon people, but there are a few people like if you're a Fuji person or Olympus or whatever, and you're like, I don't want to do. Nikons could be another option, especially they could compete in even the cinema camera if they took that market seriously. And so that's why I think like a Z8 could be something like a hybrid of a A7S III type of, like a kind of like a really good deal for video, but also like great photos. I think.
Yeah, you're right. They can morph the A7 into the Z7 into more video centric or something. But yeah, they just have to get the competitor to the R5, A7S3, A7 III, and so on.
Yeah. Look, let's just be real. The thing that sold everybody on Sony and on the R5 was autofocus system.
Well,
Autofocus is algorithm based. It doesn't take up a lot of processing speed. Chuck and I talked about this on the phone the other night. Most of the processing is needed to transfer those large 45 megapixel files at 20 frames per second onto your card, and to dual process that EVF and be able to send images at the same time. So that's where all that processing speed gets eaten up. So if you make a 36 megapixel sensor that has a good autofocus system based on the Z9, what it is, don't make the EVF as fantastic as the Z9 is. I mean, it doesn't have to be that same type of sensor the Z9 has. It can be the same type of sensor you have on a Z7, which is a beautiful sensor. Get the autofocus right. Get the autofocus right, and you're done. You got everybody back.
Yeah.
I would not be Katie would not be considering, wanting a Sony if that Z6 had the same autofocus system as an A7 IV. It's that simple, and they're the same price. So get the autofocus right, and you're not going to lose people. You're going to get everybody back. And, the salesman at the store can say, look, you can look through all these and they're the same. But right now, what's happening is every B&H, Adorama, Hunt's Photo, go down the list, Sammy's, when they get somebody calling and looking for a camera, the first thing they're going to say is, well, your autofocus is going to suck unless you go with a Sony or a Canon.
And every kid
That's
out
what's
there
happening.
Yep. Every kid out there's telling his buddy, if you're going to buy a camera, you need to go with Sony.
Exactly right.
Right or wrong, but that's what's being spread.
And I feel like a lot of that undermines really what's great about the Nikons is, if let's say like the autofocus is like spot on and it draws them in, what people will fall in love with again is the Nikon pleasing colors and the Nikon build and the quality of Nikon. Once you start buying native S lenses, you won't want to go back to any other camera. Look, I'm a little bit stubborn, so I'm like, I'll deal with the autofocus and the Z6 and the Z6 II just because I've gotten used to a certain quality, and I talked about this in my Z6 review. I was like, yo, Nikon's been making cameras for 100 years. You can tell this company knows how to make a camera that gives you a pleasant user experience. And if you pick up a Sony, I can't say, Canons are fine. But if you pick up a Sony, it just does not feel the same. Like when you take a picture, granted, it's going to get the shot. Sonys are efficient computers. They are very efficient at doing what they're supposed to do. But when you talk about an experience of shooting and having a great time, and you put a Nikon up to your eye and the way the EVF is just laid out, the way you have the options to put the histogram up or just have it as clean. That's one of the things I preach with the Z6, the Z9, is you can have a clean EVF with just nothing but the focus point. And I'm like, in that top screen, like people are like, oh, at the top, that top screen actually is handy. Like when I need to check the battery life, I just look at the top. I'm like, okay, I got this many shots. Like it's muscle memory, especially if you're a DSLR shooter. It's muscle memory to check the top screen to see your battery life, how many shots you got left, your aperture, stuff like that. So there's just qualities and features about the cameras outside of autofocus that to me, the build quality, the feel of the grip, the IBIS in the Nikons it's really good. Like there are other things, and Tony just made this piece of crap video telling us all the things he loves about the Nikon. But these are, somebody pointed out, like these are things that pros expect. Like you're talking about these are so great, but this is things that Nikon does day in and day out. Like they make great cameras, but everybody's been so focused on the autofocus that they just have forgotten that.
AF, that was it, buddy.
So yeah.
That was what sold cameras. I mean, that's the reason. The two things, Sony came on board with mirrorless and everybody was, that was new and that was fun. It was going to make gear super light and blah, blah, blah. But they also brought autofocus, not initially, but they got to it quick, and video. And because they did that and everybody was moving to not everybody, but half the folks that shoot were moving to hybrid cameras for video, they swamped the market, man. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And it just took Nikon and Canon a long time to come around. But, Nikon, I'm not going to take up for them here. They missed the boat on the AF, on the Z6 and the Z7, and that hurt them. They had everything else right. They just missed the AF. And, okay, let's get past it. We got past it. We got the Z9. We know they can do it. So guess what? Now, Nikon, it's time for you to get a prosumer camera out soon with that AF capability and some of this wonderful video that you have. And let's go to town. I mean, if you want to say Nikon's back, that's when they're back. Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
So timing wise, and if I was advising Nikon, here's what I would tell them. Number one, within the next 90 days, you better have a very comprehensive firmware update out for your Z6 and Z7 II bodies. They have the dual processors. They have capability to upgrade that firmware. Give them enough to keep them around until that next body comes out. So if it's not to the beginning of 2023 that you release, or quarter four of 2022, you release that Z6 III or whatever it might be with 30 megapixels, like Jasprit said, something, with 30 megapixels, Z9 autofocus, 6K 12-bit in RAW. That you do that, and that'll be the ultimate vlogging camera, video camera, everything you need to be popular on YouTube, and put it in the hands of guys like us, and we can show you how good it is. So until then, though, you have to update that Z6 II and Z7 II to get just a little bit better, even if it's 50% better, to keep people around, to show what's capable. But you can't do nothing. And that's what Nikon just struggles with, doing nothing a lot sometimes.
I'm just going to play hard
and get dark, and you don't know what's happening. So,
Jeffrey says 90% of the people don't need. Yeah, I agree with that, Jeffrey, but that has nothing to do with this conversation. It's about marketing and sales. And you know what? You can't ignore it. And I know you don't mean they shouldn't do anything, but I'm tired of hearing that argument, not from you, but from everybody. These cameras are above and beyond what everybody needs. It doesn't matter. It's what people want. And that AF is driving the train on whether they'll even look at.
Well, my friend I went shooting with down in New Mexico a couple weeks ago said it best. He said, when I just spent $3,500 on a Z7 II, which is what it costs, and you're standing next to somebody with an R5 who spent $200 more, and they show you their back of the camera and you look at your images and you realize they got 75% more in focus shots than you did, you start to really not like Nikon. That is an emotional thing that happens to you. I felt it. So you've got to control your narrative as a company, because we're not out there shooting on an island by ourselves and not talking to each other. And Nikon knows that. They've just got to get their marketing right. And you're exactly right, Chuck. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Control your narrative. Don't let other people control your narrative. Stay out in front of it early and often. That's 101.
Hey, can I speak to that? Can I speak to that also?
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, then I gotta go. Okay, so I've been in contact with a guy, one of the PR guys at Nikon. We've been talking back and forth. They're the ones that saying he's want to give me the Z5 shot today. And so, when the whole Z6 controversy about like the MPS thing came out, I remember I was talking to the guy on Instagram, and I was like, yo, I got to ask, because he asked me to do something. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I was like, all right, here's my ask. Can I get you to sit on a live stream with me so that like we can just have a conversation about Nikon and marketing and customer? Because, I told him straight up, like, look, the general consensus is that the PR, like Nikon's marketing and PR suck. You guys suck at communicating. I told him that. And he was like, yeah. And I'm like, look, if I can get you, because, we've been talking, I was like, if I can get you on a live stream, you can just sit and just talk, and I could just ask questions and just, get you guys to just open up or whatever. Would that be cool? He was like, yeah. Basically, he said no. But, hold up. Sorry, I'm in the middle. Yeah, what do you need?
Life goes on. Love it.
Yeah, no. So, like, here, you can have one of these. Kids, all right? No, so he's like, us PR people, we like to be behind the scenes, but I can get you in touch with, like, one of our guys who does this, either like an ambassador or the guy who does kind of like the social. And I'm like, I don't want an ambassador, because ambassadors can't speak to the inner workings. And I wanted somebody who was inside. I needed an inside man. I needed to say, hey, look, what's going on with you guys? Like, what's the deal with this whole MPS get their things first? Like, can you speak to that? Why did you guys decide to do that? Like, and they were like, well, send us the questions and we'll see them. Just like, it doesn't work that way, bro. Like, if I see the questions and then you give me some baked in answer, it's just like, this is not cool. And I'm like, look, I'm not going to ambush you. I'm not going to be like, well, so like, do you really think Tony? I'm not going to say that, but I'm also, you know me, Chuck. I'm not going to pull no punch. I'm just not going to be like
but you're not going to softball it either. You're going to give it
exactly.
Yeah.
So my idea was like, hey, can we just have a conversation about like, look, people think Nikon's marketing sucks. What's going on? Here's some ideas. Like, what do you guys think about the market? Like, just a general conversation. But just, he was like, oh, well, send us the questions and we'll fill them and we'll see if we can do it. So I didn't follow up with him because I was just like, all right, that sucks. But I kind of still wanted to see if I can do it because, I'll fill in the questions, but then I'll throw some stuff in there at the last minute. Hey, so, but why you sit here? Hey, did you guys ban Tony and Chelsea from no, let me not.
You got to be a lighter side to it too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So anyways, but no, because I don't know what's going on. Like, I don't know who's talking to who. And again, like we said, like their marketing and how they reach out. I was like, look, I think you guys should have some younger people, and you guys just feel like there's a lot of people. Like, one of my ideas, you see these accounts on Instagram that like feature like all of these like portrait photographers and different types of. Nikon should have an account where they feature not the Nikon USA because they're picky, but Nikon should have like a Nikon portrait, Nikon birds, Nikon car shooters or whatever, where like Nikon just features people, because if they went in and like
that's another problem they have, Ike, is they don't allow anybody other than their select few ambassadors and whatnot into their Instagram and whatever they have.
Yeah.
Well, we'll we'll stay on them. I mean, I'm going to. I doubt they hear me, but I'm going to continue down that path. I'm not giving up Nikon, but Nikon's got some work to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same. I got somebody I can touch, so I'm going to speak up for the people. I'm not going to let it slide.
Right.
So anyway, I got to go. I got to be a family man and stuff.
Hey, nothing wrong with that, brother. Nothing wrong with that. All
right, Ike. We appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Thanks for calling in, Ike. Have a good time with the family, brother.
Thanks.
All right.
Ike's a good dude. I don't know how people photograph models. I mean, that just seems like drama.
It's funny how everybody looks at everybody else's genre and says, man, I don't know if I'd want to do that or could do that. I mean, each one of them have their, the things that are difficult about it. You and landscape photographers getting up at, 2 or 3 in the morning or something to be where you need to be. Wedding photography, forget that. I ain't doing it. That ain't.
No doubt.
But, hats off to everybody that does what they do.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I want to say one last thing about that Nikon marketing, and then we'll move on if that's okay. And
no, absolutely. Go ahead.
I think they need to take a cue from companies that kind of rose out of nothing, and like DJI. DJI recognized that the best way to push marketing out was to get it out on YouTube, and look what DJI. They went from a nothing company to a household name in a matter of, what was it, 8 years or something like that. Do what they did. And they're just not doing it. They sit back and they wait, and you have to take the cue from these companies that just blast their stuff everywhere, spend the money to make money. Samsung does it. Apple does it. All these companies that are forefront of tech, they are household names, and they just freaking blast the stuff out there to where you're just inundated by it. That's what works. That's what works. That's what
Sony did. I remember 10 years ago going to a balloon festival, and Sony had their little tent set up. No Nikon, no Canon, no anything, because it was too minuscule for them. Sony had their little tent set up, and they were handing cameras out to everybody, and they had a little pen. You could take the camera and go shoot whatever for a while. I'm not saying Nikon has to do that, but that showed how aggressive Sony was.
Well, let's back up. So we have to understand that marketing has changed 100% in the last, since 2009. Prior to 2009, there was no alternative media, right? I mean, 2007, the iPhone comes out. Prior to that, you had to get on a Super Bowl commercial, or you had to figure out the best time slot to run your commercials on TV, or you're in a magazine for a hobbyist of something that you like. So the people that adapted early and understood the alternate media, which is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of the different alternate ways to get out there, are the ones that have had the most success. I mean, let's be real. When we were younger, Andre Agassi and all the, was he the Nikon guy? No, he was the Canon guy. The Rebel guy? Mm-hmm. But it was a household name because of these sports guys. The only reason I knew about Nikon is because they had advertisement on TV. That's alternative ways of getting the message out. You have to early adapt to that stuff, be on the forefront, and just Nikon hasn't done that well at all.
No.
That's it.
That's been my complaint. Marketing and communication, lack thereof. So,
somebody else calling in.
Yep, here we go. Let's see if we got Mr. Michael. You there? Hang on, Michael. Here we go again. I don't know why it's doing this. Are you there? I heard you say yes.
Hello.
There you go.
Yeah. Hey, Chuck, what I'm curious about, not to change the subject right now.
No, please do.
But, okay. Hey, well, yeah. One thing that I'm really curious about this new system, the Z lenses and all that, is I've always used nothing more than a 1.4, my 200 millimeter, because your 2 point, you're losing a lot.
Right.
Now, is it different with the Z lenses where you can actually pull off a 2x
All right.
with a good edge?
Let me take a stab at this, and it won't take me but a minute, and then I'm going to pass it off to Josh because I know he has it and he's playing with it too. Okay, so I got the 2X, and I have the 1 to 400, and everybody's asked me, and I feel bad because I can't give them the answers they want yet. And this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, people asking questions about the Z9. It's going to take a little while to really get my hands wrapped around how I want it set up, and just like the EVF thing tonight. Now, on the 100 to 400 with the 2X, the 100 to 400 is fantastic. I mean, from my opinion right now, playing with it, and it's not playing with it a lot, but playing with it the little I have, it's fantastic. Okay. Great lens. It's light. It's fast. I don't mean as far as aperture, but it's quick to focus, and I love it. Now, I put the 2X on it, and that's going to take a little bit of time to play with it. I really need to get out. I can't just shoot across the backyard at 800 millimeter and determine what it's doing. I already have a feel for it, though, and I can tell you this, and it's going to be, I think, just like my 400 2.8. I'm going to have to stop it down quite a bit. It's already at f8 with that 2X on it at the long end, or f11 at the long end. But I can tell there is a bit of difference, but I really want to get it out on a good sunny day, get a little distance too, and just see how it performs. But I'm pretty sure right now I'm going to have to stop it down to f8, and people will cringe when they hear this. If you haven't shot with teleconverters before, then you don't understand that it's not shooting it wide open, the lens.
Oh, no. No.
And I'm going to have to stop it down, I'm guessing, between 18 and 22. Now, that sounds incredible, but understand this. When you put a teleconverter on a lens, you can go down to f32 with most lenses. Yeah, it's an f16 lens or whatever, f22 lens aperture. But when you put the teleconverter on there, it opens it up, and that's for a reason. So I want to get it out and shoot it in good light. And that may be where that lens has to live at 800 millimeter. I don't know yet. So now I'll back off and let Josh talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, that sounds great then, Chuck.
Appreciate you, Mike. So I'm going to, I'm just going to tell you, I am the president of the anti-teleconverter fan club. I have done personal tests, extensive tests, and this is prior to YouTube, and I had the version 3, 1.4, 1.7, and 2 for Nikon on a 400 2.8, and I can honestly say my images looked better when I cropped them in than when I used a teleconverter. I don't know what it is.
Crazy.
I don't know what it is about the way it softens the edges by adding that extra glass, but that's really it. You're adding extra glass when you're you're losing that little bit of light, and with that light, there's a little bit of diffraction. There's all these little tiny things that are happening. When you buy a $14,000 lens, or and it's f4 or f2.8, it is optimized for sharpness right there, and then you throw a teleconverter on it that's made in another factory on another continent, and you just match it up to this thing. How can you expect things to be perfect? Now, what I have heard is that Sony makes their teleconverters and their lenses in the same factory, and Sony's kind of known for having real good matching for their teleconverters and their prime lenses. Nikon doesn't make them in the same factory, from what I understand, unless that's changed with the S-line lenses. So I did order the 1.4 teleconverter along with that 400 2.8 with the built-in teleconverter to redo that test. So I'll personally be checking that out again. And if it's not just spot on, I don't risk it. That 1.4 teleconverter will sit in my drawer and I'll never pull it back out.
Wow.
But I've never had good luck with them. I've never put one on and said, yep, that is better. It's not better. For me, it's just easier to crop in.
On my 400 2.8 with the TC17, the old TC17,
Yeah.
Right.
and my D5. I'll tell you, I got some incredible photos with that combo. However, the trade-off is, again, stopping it down to where it's sharp again. And I don't know how diffraction really wasn't an issue. I don't know why, how, or whatever, but you're losing a lot of light. And that's the bigger issue on it. And, for
Well,
wildlife photographers, I understand why.
Sure. And
Jeffrey
if
says
you
it
can
best.
jack up your ISO a little bit to kind of compensate for it and get cleaner images than what you would have done with your D5 or D4.
Well, what
that
it
would be
means
kind
is
of worth it.
what it means is there's compromises built in when you put
Sure.
the TC on.
Sure.
That's all. That's what it means. I mean, if you're lucky
Yep.
enough to get one that works and pairs well with your lens, if you can stop it down, then you're dealing with noise or other issues, high ISO or possibly. So that's why I said when I got this combo, the 2X and the 1-400, it's a poor man's 800, and that's exactly what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. But if you're happy with it, that's good enough.
There you
know?
go. And a lot of people will be. But without the TC, I think it's a fantastic lens so far.
Well,
Yeah.
that's great to hear. That's great to hear. Hey, Josh, by the way, you've got a great video style. Don't change it.
Oh,
People
I
will
appreciate
follow
it, Mike.
you.
Thank you so much, man.
They will follow you to the end.
Absolutely.
Oh,
so
well, I
just
sure appreciate it. Thank you so much.
stay the course, as they say.
Yeah,
And
having
Chuck,
fun
always
doing
nice
it.
talking to you.
Thanks, Mike. Good talking to you too.
You
Thanks,
bet.
Mike. Have a
Thanks,
good night.
everybody.
All right.
Bye-bye.
And Roy talks about AF suffers on many cameras. Yeah, it does. And maybe that's why I always shot it on the D5. I never tried it on anything else. So, and
Well,
you're right.
Here's the
can.
best thing to do. Put that teleconverter in your pocket and get closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Getting closer fixes everything. Your lens best performance is at its minimum focus length. So the closer you can get, the better off you're going to be. Now, that's not possible every time. I know I'm being a little facetious, but man, spend $25 more on camouflage. You know what I mean? Spend a little money on a blind. It's way cheaper than a teleconverter. You'll get closer and you'll get better images. That's my answer.
Yep. But then again, if you're me, you're going to have muddy images, but you can say you got it.
There you go.
Just kidding, man.
Well, if you just document and stuff, yeah, that's the way to go.
Hank, I think you're right, man. We're in the same camp. I agree, and I think we're going to hear something before long. I'm not going to beat this horse too much more, but we can always come back to it. But I do have an agenda here based on a discussion with Josh. Josh, you have questions you want to answer. Do you still have those? You want to?
Yeah. So
let's
stuff
go down
I've
that list.
had come up. Let me pull my phone back up here. I wrote them all down today. And I didn't credit everybody. It's stuff that's shown up again and again.
Well, I think if you answer them, hopefully
Yeah.
they're in, or we'll see this and get the answer that they were looking for. And while you start on that, I'm going to the little boys' room because this is real world, and I drink a lot of coffee.
Sounds good. Yeah. So while you're gone, so one of the questions that comes up repeatedly, and somebody sent me a long email on this, David. I don't want to give out all your information there, but he's starting his own YouTube channel. He's asking me about missing shots while I'm out in the field. Am I giving up a lot of images by trying to do video? And the answer is yeah. I mean, if you're a photographer and you decide that you're going to get out there and start making some video as well, that's the compromise you make, right? You're now have to think about the story you're going to tell. You have to think about how you're going to compose that story. You have to think about how you compose the video inside this image and how they're going to blend together. So I can tell you countless stories where I was sitting in front of the subject I wanted, and I'm fumbling around with my camera settings to get a video, and I completely missed it. So the answer to that is yes, I am constantly missing shots by doing video. On the flip side, I love getting some of these videos that the photo just didn't tell, right? The wonderful thing about, snapping a beautiful shot is you can hang it on your wall and, You can tell that story about how you got that shot, but the video, you can craft the narrative on what the entire day was like or what the weekend was like. So yes, the answer to that one, and I responded back to David in that email as well, but I figured other people would like to know about that, is you are definitely compromising some images when you decide to go the video mode. The second part of that question had a lot to do with video settings. And camera settings, we all get into how fast the shutter speed should be, and ISO performance. With video, it's a little different, right? So if you're shooting at 4K at 60 frames per second, the science behind that is just double your frames per second, and that should be your shutter speed. Which makes things kind of difficult now. So if you're in broad daylight and you're now down at 1/20th of a shutter speed, um, you got to figure out ways to darken up that image. So I use a lot of filters, a lot of those variable NDs that allows me to darken up that screen and then shoot at those lower shutter speeds so that I can do 60 frames per second and get those pretty images. So Jeffrey asked, do you think you'll ever shoot 8K so you can extract 33 megapixel? Yeah. So here's an interesting, I did a test on that this weekend. My thumbnail that you see on my last video, um, that was a 4K 120 screen grab that I pull right off of Premiere Pro. And so I thought, I've been doing this with 4K, and I saw what size the file was. And I tested out the 8K right here in my backyard, came into Premiere Pro and stopped it. And you can just hit that, export this single image out. And it wasn't 33 megapixels. If I remember correctly, it was 16 megapixels. So I'm wondering if I was in the wrong setting there for 8K. And the second thing is 8K file eats up a lot of dang memory. And it takes 4 times longer for me to download an 8K video to my computer than it does for me to download a 4K video. I learned that the hard way the other day when I got about 18 minutes worth of 8K footage. Yeah, that was painful. And I've got a fast computer. I mean, I've got 3160 video cards, and I've got i7 processors and all that good stuff. And I'm telling you, 8K will bog your world down. So I don't foresee me shooting 8K unless YouTube starts going to 8K standards or something like that, or if I decide I'm going to make something for Netflix, it's going to stay 4K. Just for the sake of my computer. Autofocus will even get better with new firmware, and it will be a new every Z camera, no matter the sensor size. I think that's the right thing to say, Hank. You're probably right. Okay, so another question I had that came up often. All right, there was the video. Do you miss shots? Music. Does anybody care about where I get music from? That's a music bed thing. I get people ask me all the time, hey, where'd that song come from? I have a subscription to Music Bed. It costs me a few dollars a month. I think it's $19.99 a month. And that's subscription based. Every one of those songs are owned by the artist, and I'm paying them a fee to be able to use that stuff. YouTube offers stuff for free. It's kind of okay, kind of crappy. I used that early in my YouTube career, but if you want the good sound, the good, beautiful songs, man, Music Bed, Artlist, all fantastic. But from my experience, Music Bed has been the best. So $20 a month, definitely worth it. Upcoming events. So what's coming up for the next couple of years? So I got a sponsor coming on board. I'm not allowed to announce who that is yet, but you'll see that in the next, hopefully next 60 days once we get our agreement in place. And I want to assure you guys the sponsor is right up your alley. I mean, this is the kind of people that we all love and we all use. So we're just working out how that's going to look in the future. But you're going to see a lot more sponsored content. And I'm not going to do it in such a way where it's just going to be a big commercial. So we've talked about that. We're not going to have a straight up, this is a commercial for this company. They're simply going to kind of help us out in getting places and getting more content in place. So it'll be a basic thank you, go visit this company, but they're going to kind of open the doors for us to be able to do more stuff. And I'm not going to say anything else about that until that officially comes out. But the future for this year is about travel. We plan on getting to the Oregon coast. We're going to really knock out this Northwest area a lot this year. And I don't know if you guys have been to the Northwest much, but there's so much to see. I know a guy here that made a video about Idaho, and he said he's been trying to document this place his entire life, and he's only 75% there, and he's 54 years old. So there's a lot to see just here in Idaho, but we're going to be on the road a lot this year, and you're going to see a lot more of my truck. I traded in the van and bought a 20-year-old truck, and it's just got back from the 4-wheel drive place today, getting outfitted with some more stuff. So we're going to try to get to some more difficult places that that we weren't able to get to with that little low clearance van. So that's the next year, man. Get out and see more. Landscape photography. What's Agatha say there? If you're out on a long trek doing landscape photography and it starts getting cold out there, bring a Sony in your pocket to keep you warm. Jesus, that's funny. Yeah, we'll have a Sony here in the household soon, so we'll put that to test. But yeah, what else, Chuck? What else is going on?
Well, the topic of what's next for Nikon, just, it continues, and it's going to, and rightly so. Right now, I think Nikon's in a position where we need to be talking about it because obviously Nikon needs to know that we're concerned, and maybe that pushes them to at least communicate. Again, back to the communication. It wouldn't hurt them to throw a hint out there and talk about filling gaps, or they don't have to get specific, but again, just let us know. Because a lot of people are talking about, they're saying they're taking the easy road of there won't be another camera this year from Nikon. And well, that's easy to say. I disagree. I'm going to take the more difficult route and say that, yes, I do believe there will be another camera this year. So, but again, that's always a big topic, a go back to topic. Looking at some of the questions, and some of them aren't really things. I mean, I know you'll talk about it, Josh, but the video side of things, because obviously you're using video. That's how we learned about you and enjoy what you produce. But
Yeah, so can we talk a little bit about shooting video with the Z9?
Yes, go for it.
So I've tried. I've been burning through some 4K 120. Wow. I had any real high quality stuff. Let me back up. Okay. To get 10-bit, and I don't want to bore people with too many details, but to get 10-bit raw, I had to export from the Z6 to that Atmos, which I don't have it up here, the Ninja 5. And oh man, it just slowed down the workflow. The files that come out the back of this Z9 in that H.265 10-bit raw, holy smokes, 4K 120 with sound. That is something that's pretty awesome. You're getting 120 frames per second with sound in 4K, and then now you can slow down that 4K 120 to 30 frames per second, and you're getting 4 times slow motion in some of the most beautiful stuff I've seen ever. So I'm going to be using that almost exclusively for my wildlife video. These birds, I mean, some of the stuff I got today of the bird just flying off of the reeds out there, and you just slow it down and you're just looking at every detail in the feather. And, one of them, you'll see it in this next week's video, when his feet left that cattail and that little puffy stuff, little things just flew off the cattail. I was like, man, I thought the Z6 had incredible video, and it does. But man, Z9 just took it to a whole nother level, and absolutely beautiful stuff. but it's easy to work with too. I was really afraid that I was going to struggle with that 10-bit raw codec in Premiere Pro. Not at all. I mean, loads right up, color grades real quick, and you just export it as a H.264 file straight to YouTube, and it's beautiful as you can imagine. So love the video performance of the Z9.
Well, I mean, that's a big draw for the Z9 as well. Again, obviously, they marketed it based on a lot of the capability in video. So glad to hear,
Yeah.
though, that you've already played with it. And so, how easy is it to work with? I know you just said that it doesn't,
Yeah.
it's not taxing on the computer, but
Well, I totally abandoned external recordings for the Z6 II because it
yeah,
was the workflow meant I had to pull it off the Atmos Ninja 5. You had a different codec that you were working with
right.
that you had to import into Premiere Pro. So building my timeline, I'd have 3 different types of codecs. So I went straight back to that 8-bit internal with the Z6 II. This is coming. I got one source. Here's how easy it is. I take that 10-bit raw, put it in a Premiere Pro, put it right next to my 8-bit raw out of my Z6 II that I'm doing my B-roll with,
Mhm.
and they meld right up perfectly with 0 problems. And I'm
That's
not doing
good.
in-log or any of that stuff. I'm just the basic 10-bit H.265, which is a beautiful file. So I don't want to geek out on that too much, but
Mhm.
it's very easy to work with. Premiere Pro, of course, is not the easiest software in the world to work with, but
No, it isn't. It
yeah,
spits at
exactly.
me if I even open it up. So I
Right.
went
So
to Final Cut Pro because it's easy.
yeah, I heard it's very easy, and I probably need to explore that. But well, Final Cut Pro is an Apple product, right? I mean, so I
That is
have to.
correct.
Yeah, I'm on PCs.
Okay.
But one other thing about the Z6 video, and that's the autofocus mode. You know, full AF full mode on the Z6 II is fantastic, and it tracks the eye for humans, and it just never tracked wildlife though. So when I switched to wildlife footage on the Z6 II, where you just flip that little switch, I'd actually go to single point autofocus and then switch to AF continuous, where I held the back button down to get my footage with the Z6 II. That was the only way I was able to get it to work and track the subject, is if I actually stayed on the subject and followed it. With the AF full mode, with the auto eye detect on in the full screen, I'm not touching any buttons. I mean, I literally just have to guide the camera on the gimbal or guide the camera in my hands to track the bird, and it's focusing the whole time while it's recording 4K 120 frames per second.
Oh man.
Game changer. Absolutely game changer.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
So I had John from Frame Voyager on the other
Yeah.
night,
Yeah. I
and
watched some of that. That was good.
he contacted me again, and we talked about the show, and he enjoyed himself, and he likes the group and everything else, and he said he's more than willing, would love to come back, but he also offered up one of the audio guys that he works with. He collabs with or helps him on projects and that. So he is a commercial videographer. He's doing this for someone. Um,
Hmm.
he he's talking about coming back soon, and I would hope that everybody would welcome him back. I think that they would, but I was just going to throw that out there too, Josh. When he does come back, I want to ask him some specifics on all these things that we're talking about right now. And unfortunately, I'm not going to embarrass anybody else. I'll take that heat round. I'm going to embarrass myself, and I really want to know some of the basics. The shutter
Yeah.
angle, bit rates, and all that
Mhm.
again, so that we all begin to understand what we're doing, and everybody can start playing with video in their camera. Why not? It's there. Let's use it.
Flip that switch, guys. I encourage anybody that has a video mode on your camera, flip the switch. It is so incredibly easy and intuitive. You can't really mess it up. I mean, it's that rule of doubling your shutter and all that kind of good stuff. If you don't, you might get less blur in your videos, and you might think that looks fine. There's some people that really geek out about, getting the exact shutter right for, the different frame rates. Uh, I sometimes it doesn't work out for me, and I just crank up the shutter to whatever I want just to get
Yeah.
the right exposure. Nobody knows. When I
And,
look at it, I don't even know.
and, and,
It's
and
so easy.
that's what I want, when he comes on is, help us to understand that. What does it mean if we do this or that,
Yeah.
Like you said, you're still going to get a video. But maybe he can throw something at us because when I talked to him, I said, I understand, John. The big thing is we need to know what input to the camera before we begin because it makes
Yeah.
such a difference on the other end in post. Sometimes we get to the post part and wonder, why won't this work? Why does this look this way? So anyway, yeah, he wants to come back, and I'm going to definitely have him on with his audio guy. And there's a big thing. I know a lot of people, as you begin to do this, are talking about
Mhm.
audio. What do I need to do? What can I do? So I want to go from the basic run and gun. What do I need on the camera or whatever, up to maybe a little more production. Multiple audio rigs or microphones or whatever on the camera. So anyway, and I invite everybody back when that happens. There'll be a reminder that goes out, but come back and ask those questions. Do not sit back and think, well, that's a dumb question. I'm not going to answer it or ask it, but absolutely do. That's what he wants to come back and do because he enjoys doing that.
Yeah,
So just
absolutely.
throwing that out there.
Well, listen, the video today is so much easier. I see Roberto's talking about doing video back with the D810 and the
Yep.
D500. I got rid of my DSLRs, because of the video limitations. Today, it has gotten so easy to just flip that switch and just know what, like Jeffrey says right there, what
Yep.
happens if your shutter speed is more than 2 times. Most people don't notice it, so who cares? Just crank your shutter speed up to whatever if it means you got to
Yeah.
get the right exposure. Those types of things they're kind of arbitrary unless you're selling professional footage, and nobody can really tell that much
Exactly.
until you start putting it up against some of this professional cinema type footage. Now that being said, you start learning line upon line, here a little, there a little, and you get better at it. Um, but one thing that who was that said about the editing gets a little intimidating? There are actually some programs out there that make it pretty easy, like Adobe Rush, which is a basic package that comes with your Lightroom. You probably already have it activated if you have Lightroom Classic. Open the Adobe Rush, import your videos in the Adobe Rush, and it's just like doing it on your iPhone. You can clip and snip these videos together, and it automatically figures out which, whether
Yep.
you did 4K or 1080p or 60 frames per second or 30, and it just melds it all together and it works. As a matter of fact, it's more intuitive than editing an image in Lightroom is sometimes. So don't be intimidated by video. And once you start, I'm going to tell you from experience, it's kind of addictive. You start to think, all right, well, I can
Yeah.
make this little quick story and I can just send it out into the world. It gives you a different voice. Does that make sense when I say that? It allows you to
Yeah.
tell a better story.
I was going
And
to
that's what I
say,
love.
I challenge everybody. You've got video in your camera, and maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know what cameras everybody has, but you got video. Shoot a video around the
Mhm.
house of your
Yeah,
grandchildren, your children, your family, or whatever. Just a short video, and see if it doesn't grab you. Is wow, this is kind of fun. I mean,
yeah,
it's there. Use it.
that's
And if
right.
you've got, especially if you're my age and you've got young grandchildren and you shoot some video of them, you don't know how much their mother and father are going to love that down the road, even them. So anyway, not trying to sell everybody on video, although it seems like it half the time.
Well, we could talk. I love this. I love video. So, one more thing I do want to say about it is don't stop with just taking a video. Um, Tell a story. Tell a story and share it with somebody. And, I've learned that, stories have beginnings, middle, and end. Once you start putting little stories together, you'll start watching TV shows and all this other stuff completely different than what you used to. You start to notice, okay, wait, okay, they introduced the character, they established a scene. There's our first conflict. How are they going to overcome this conflict? Okay, we have a resolution. Okay, wait, we have a twist. You know what I'm saying? So that all happens in the edit. You gather all this footage, and in the edit, really quickly, you can just manipulate stuff to tell a pretty cool story.
Yeah.
Um, so you've got this beautiful technology in front of you. These are not just cameras for taking pictures. These are world class. The video capabilities in your $1,900 Z6 is better than what you had in a $6,000 camera 8 years ago that you'd buy at a professional shop. So, man, it's a shame if you don't use your video mode. That's all I got to say about that. Unless
No, I
anybody has
agree.
any more questions.
I agree with you. Yeah, Mike, you might be a little too old for that, buddy, but think of what you could have done in the industry, though, years ago if we'd only had hybrid cameras. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you've got a Z6 or Z7, you already have a fantastic video camera, just so you
World
know.
class. World
You
class.
know,
Yeah.
the AF there is completely different on the video side. So I think you might enjoy it. I really do. But I'm going to get John back in, or I say I am. He's willing to come back, and I hope everybody will join and get in here and really dig into it and ask him questions because he's such a fun guy. If you haven't gone to Frame Voyager, his channel, and watch his weekly news updates, he makes it fun. Okay, he's not one of those deadbeat.
Does.
So I encourage you to go over and check him out, and we'll get him back in here. And the audio guy, boy, do I need an audio guy.
Yeah, audio is tricky, isn't it? It is.
Yeah.
It's kicked
So
my butt.
Roy says he bought the Z just for video. I agree, Roy. I did this very same thing. I had no expectations on the photo side because I still had a D5, D500, D850. I don't know what all I've had, but I had plenty of cameras, stills cameras, but I bought it for the video. And I'm glad that I did because the Z6 is up here right now. That's what I'm on. And the Z6 II, it's sitting back there, and I've used that in the studio too. But, you know, I wanted to get more into video, and I guess I need to quit yammering about this because not everybody wants to talk about video. But Agnetha, you asked that question, the Z6, Z7, and the Z9. So now I can say that I don't have a Z7, but I have two Z6s and the Z9. And the Z9 by far is the camera that Nikon needs to be focusing on right now with that AF. And if they can bring the Z6 II and Z7 II up to par, I don't think they can, but I think they can get a lot closer with a firmware update. And that's going to also tell us what's coming next. Whatever they give us in a firmware update for those two cameras will help us understand what's next. And I do believe with two processors, two X-Speed 6 processors in that camera, that I think they can outdo what the Z6 firmware did. And that's not shabby. I hear a lot of people talking about they're really happy. They can see a difference. So the Z6 II, Z7 II with a firmware update will definitely point Nikon in the right direction. And that's what's going to help at least hold us over until they can get that next body out. So, but get out there, use your camera. I need to take that advice too. So,
A book to explain video jargon would be nice. Any good recommendations?
boy, that's true.
Well, I'll tell you a channel that I subscribe to. If you don't mind me looking it up real quick here. I can never remember the name of all my people. Where is he at? He is fantastic, though. He does nothing but documentary films, and he walks you through step by step all of the nuances in a very easy to understand way. Number one, the Film Riot crew.
Yeah.
It's just type in Film Riot and you'll find them. Incredibly good. But the other guy is he's strictly. Where is he at? And man, I've really subscribed to a lot of people, aren't I?
I am too.
Yeah, keep going. Nobody wants to look at
And
me looking at
it's
Mark Bone.
oh yeah, I've seen Mark.
Yes,
I think I'm
documentary
subscribed to him.
guy. You can just go through his entire library, and
Yep.
it's video for dummies, and he shows you what you can do with really crappy equipment and really good equipment, what the differences are with the two. He breaks down frame rates. He breaks down, what it looks like when you shoot in 24 frames per second versus 120. He runs by the camera so that you can see that. He cranks up the shutter speed to see what it looks like, when you run by the camera. I get a notepad out when I'm watching Mark's videos. And he also gets into how to tell the story. And he does major production stuff for CNN. For He's done documentaries that have won film festivals. So Mark Bone, he just type that in, and you'll thank me for it. He's fantastic.
What happened?
What happened? You froze up, or I froze up?
No, according to this, viewers dropped a 1.
What? We lost everybody?
Yeah, I don't know. It's got to be just a glitch in the
No,
system.
it shows
here.
39, 38, 34 watching on this.
All right.
We're
Who
good
knows?
to go. Yeah.
Yeah, on the overheating. Again, we've talked about this before. I think it's not just the size of the body. I think Nikon again found some secret sauce there with that new Tico Raw. I think it's generating less heat. So I could be completely wrong, but I think it's a combination of several things. Yeah,
By the way,
David,
I
okay.
accidentally shot in compressed. What's the other?
Star.
Yeah, the Star.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't tell a difference.
That's what everybody says.
I don't. It makes me wonder. Do I want to go back to the compressed raw? I'm looking at the thing to see what it says here. The low and high. You know what I'm saying? The Star versus the unstar one.
Yep.
So
Well, the Star is full raw. I mean, the no Star is full raw, and the Star is a compressed raw.
Yep. I can't tell the difference between them, so I'm just going to keep in that full raw, that compressed raw that they have. It's still compressed, but it's just, the other one's just a high efficiency compressed raw. So shooting whichever one, you'll still be happy. It still edits like a regular raw image. It still shows that it's 45.2 megapixels or whatever it is, and if there's a huge difference, I can't tell it from shooting very, very high detailed bird images.
I saw on Facebook someone that did the 130 frames per second JPEG, super burst mode on a hawk flying, and then made a video and slowed it down, and it is incredibly impressive, man. I mean,
it's a video,
but it is so smooth.
Of course,
I don't know
is.
how many images it was, but it was a ton of images.
Well, think about it, Chuck. I mean, we shoot. Every movie you watch is shot in 24 or 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
So that the natural eye recognizes 24 to 30 frames per second, and the way that data gets transferred across lines and stuff, it's optimized for that, and your eye sees it. So when you're shooting 24 frames per second, or not 120 but 24 frames per second, you should be able to link those together and get a smooth to the eye video. So 120 is ridiculous. I mean, that's like that's 4 times more than what you need to make a good smooth video.
I think it's just the thought of, individual frames going together and then coming up with a video with that. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, 30 frames a second will give you a video. But it's just, and here's the real, call it luck, because I don't think any camera out there is that perfect. But anyway, every frame in the sequence is in focus.
Isn't that something? Yeah, it's
every
amazing.
frame, he talks about that, and he put the or put the video together. But it's butter, man. It's pleasing to watch that bird
Yeah.
just
Man,
fly away in slow
I don't
mo.
know if you saw my last video of that review, but I was talking about I had an owl jump right out the tree at me,
Yep,
and he
yep,
kinda swooped down,
yep.
and when you look at the video that was recorded to the Atmos, the external recorder,
Right.
it looked like it lost focus for a long time and it was hunting for focus. But what was crazy is when I went back and reviewed my images, almost that whole sequence was in focus. And I've gone back and I've watched the video and I've looked at the images and I try to time them up. I'm like, this is the same time. This is when it happened.
Yeah.
In the video that I'm recording my external screen and what I'm seeing through my viewfinder is it looked like I'd lost focus in there, but the camera still grabbed it. So that's something that's been surprising to me. And if anybody understands what's going on there, um, please help me out because I can see clearly that whole sequence where that owl is flying behind that grass in my EVF. It looked like it was out of focus, but I've got in focus images.
Yeah.
How does
Well,
how does that work?
there was a lot of discussion about that way back when with the Z6, Z7, Z62, Z72 on just the stickiness of the box on the
Hmm.
head and everything else. But for whatever reason, nobody ever talked about the fact that, well, let's see the images. Just because it isn't stuck to the head, is that a
Yeah.
problem? And it
Hmm.
turns out that it wasn't a problem. It's just in the algorithm or whatever, because people are, if it's not on the head or the eye exactly, they feel like, well, it's missed focus. That isn't
Yeah.
the case all the time. I know it is sometimes. Have you noticed that?
It's new to me right now because I didn't pay that much attention to it. I don't think I'd been in a situation um, where I was paying that close attention to it, first of all. But Roy makes a good point. The EVF is separate from what the sensor gets, and I think that's just what's happening, right? I mean, the
Yeah.
sensor may have grabbed focus, and the EVF, the processing didn't process it quick enough for me to see it with the naked eye. But only because I'd taken, and I really wouldn't have noticed, except that I had that external. I'm knocking my thing here. Except that I'd recorded it externally to the Atmos, and you can go back and watch it in the video. It's about halfway through to the end of the video where
Yeah.
he jumps out of that tree. It looks like it's out of focus, and then maybe for a split second, it looks like it's in focus, but that whole sequence of images were in focus. So
Yeah.
I'm impressed. I was very much
Yeah.
impressed.
But everybody got wrapped around the axle over, if the box isn't stuck to whatever,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
it's, look how many shots we missed or they missed or whatever. So I,
Well, it's nice to be surprised when you get back to that and you find out that those
yeah.
worked out just fine.
Well, you just build a camera that doesn't even focus, just make sure the box is on
Yeah,
there
right.
and
That's exactly
advertise
right.
that. Look how sticky this is.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
really?
so one more thing I wanna say about that, and for you wildlife photographer guys out there, I don't know how many are left in the chat, but, um, when lighting situations are tough, like, for instance, if you're photographing a small songbird that's moving from, dark shadows to over in a bright area and then kind of a mixed light area, you'll have the tendency, which I do all the time, I go to auto ISO. Um, with this new autofocus system, that box, will grab the full size of the bird, then narrow itself down to the eye, then, might grab over towards the belly of the bird and then back to the eye, and it happens quickly. So, depending on how your metering is set up, as you're taking shots, you might get 4 shots with 4 different metering effects on it because of the size of the autofocus box.
Hmm.
It's a very strange thing that I've almost abandoned auto ISO now because of it, because I'll get in a series of 20 images, I might get 4 different exposures, depending on where the eye or where that autofocus button goes. Specifically, if they've got a dark eye, it blows out and it'll crank up the ISO really fast, to 1000 ISO, where the rest of the scene looked great at 320 or whatever it might have been. So that's one thing to be aware of, because that autofocus auto box changes in size. You're going to get some funky stuff in auto ISO.
Oh, here we go. Mike brought it up. Thank you, Mike, on shipping of the Z9. Yeah, I have over the last week. Again, they're trickling out, even in Europe. There obviously aren't a lot of cameras that, well, I mean, who knows how many people actually have to get on YouTube or Facebook and say, "Hey, I got my camera." I don't know how many are being delivered and people just aren't talking about it. But there are a few people that are talking about it, and a few in Europe. It seems like Asia was doing well. Don't hear anything from China, and they were supposed to be one of the largest pre-order regions. But if I see any numbers, I'll throw them on I'll bring them up on the next YouTube.
I'll tell
stream.
you something I heard last Friday. I just put the feeler out when I was making another purchase on something else. I said, just out of curiosity, if I wanted to get a second Z9, like I needed another one to complete my kit here, how long would I be waiting? And they said, Josh, I'm going to tell you, it's likely you probably wouldn't see it to the beginning of next year if you ordered today. He said, we have in our catalog right now about 3,500 people on the list, and we're getting 12 to 15 of them per shipment. So start doing the math on that. It's taken them a long time. So they told me it would be, if I ordered today, I'd be looking next year before I'd get mine. If I ordered a second one.
Hey, there's a question there, Josh, from Touch Life.
Yeah, that's a good buddy of mine. Hey, what's up, man? Camera Store released a video today comparing A1, R1, Z9, ranking Z9 as the best photo and video. Yeah. It's hard to say. They're all so good, right? So the differentiating gets into real nuances. It's of course, the overheating and all that stuff. When you start recording on a professional level, people start looking at how do those internal recording bit rates, how do they edit, how do they export, how can you color grade them. So for a normal guy like me that's making YouTube videos that last for 9 to 14 minutes, I think I would be happy with any one of those cameras, except I know that the Z9 costs $1,000 less than both of those. So if I'm getting the same performance for less, yeah, I'm going to rank Z9 number one on that list every time. But here's the next thing that that a lot of people don't understand about video, and that is there's a lot of other devices involved that dictate what that video looks like at the end. So if people are recording to external devices, or if they're important in certain formats, you can take really incredible footage internally and screw it up on the other end. I don't know the answer to that, but yeah, if the professionals are ranking those three and say the Z9 is best, there's nothing you're going to hear from me that goes the opposite direction. I've loved every moment with it for video.
Talking
Yes,
about prices
full-size
going up.
HDMI port is nice, by the way, and I learned that the hard way. I have several Atmos cables and and none of them were full HDMI port. So I was scrambling the day I went out to record. I had to back up, go back to the store, buy a full HDMI small 2-foot cable to run from my my Atmos to the Z9 to do screen recording. That kind of threw me for a loop there, because all the small ports I had was all I had in my bag.
Yep.
Caught me by surprise.
Yeah, I was lucky. I had plenty of those from all the other peripherals I've got. But yeah,
Got a bunch
it's
of 10
easy.
footers. Got a bunch of
Yeah.
10 footers, not not small stuff to go on the camera.
Talking about prices going up. Yeah, Europe, it just happened. Who knows? Who knows
Look,
why or if? But Europe hadn't seen an increase. I think I saw for a few years. So I don't know.
well, I don't want to get into the politics of that at all, but I'm going to tell
Right.
you, I'm in my real job. I do a lot of procurement of very expensive stuff for the government, and supply chains are screwed up, not just in the camera world. We've got vehicles we've ordered for, our paramedics and all this other stuff that we're a year and a half out on. We've got, little things like HVAC units for our jails and our courthouses that we can't get for 46 weeks. All because of not because of the big components, it's all small stuff like the circuit boards. They don't have the circuit boards to now run these fans on these RTUs or whatever it is. So that is across the board everywhere. Supply chain problems have happened. Now add that to the fact that there's a shortage in labor, and then shipping gets a little bottlenecked because you don't have enough people to get it on a truck to send it to you. People start jacking up the prices so that they can pay people more to get them there to meet the demand. And where I work, we've done studies on it. We've brought people in to figure out and project what we're going to be looking at for the next 2 to 3 years. I would not be surprised if next year this time a Nikon Z9 didn't cost $6,700 and an R3 costs $7,400, because you can't get stuff moved and you can't get stuff built. It's that simple, but the demand is still there. So of course the prices are going to go up. And I don't say, I don't, I don't fault anybody for doing it. It's business. Something went wrong. The page is trying to reload. What happened,
Oh,
everybody?
hello, Lee. No, hang on. We got to go through a little dance here, Lee.
Oh, there's your audio.
Yep. There you go.
So how goes it over there?
It
Hi,
goes
Lee.
pretty
How
good.
are you?
Yeah, as I mentioned that I watch Josh quite a bit. You can tell him I do so, and watched this new one the other day, and I
Well, he can
enjoyed
hear
that.
you,
And,
so talk to him.
yeah, hey Josh,
Hi, Lee. How are you, my friend?
I'm another Idaho guy here. I'm over in Hagerman, down
Oh,
South Central, over by the
son of a gun.
Thousand
We
Springs
need to get
area.
together, man. Go photograph some owls.
Yeah, no kidding, no kidding. We definitely would like to get some of those birds out there. I'd say it's funny because I'm predominantly landscape, and I do a lot of real estate work for the most part. So moving subjects were never my thing. But since I picked up the R5 last year, I was out there I felt I owed it to myself to try to actually shoot something that moved, which was something different for me. But as your experiment was on one of your previous videos, you had a chance to have a hands-on with it. So, the R5 does quite reasonably well too. But I actually had a pre-order in for the Z9, and that's what started Chuck and I talking quite a bit on the phone here and there, and covering some different subjects. But I ended up canceling it because I decided, with 15 grand in investment in LRF glass, I just couldn't justify making the switch over or even adding. I thought I would, and I might still do it. I mean, like I told them, if they talk about what this R1's going to be, if they ever release the information this summer, and it's not going to be what I'm looking for, I'll jump on a 9 all day long. That would be fun to have. But
Well, Lee,
I'm sure
Lee,
you're just gonna have a good time there, no doubt.
well, Lee, if I can give you some unsolicited advice here, that R5, in my opinion, the autofocus is just as good as the Z9. And people that's not a popular opinion right now because the Z9 is so new, but I've since used the R5 since having the Z9, and it is as good and in some ways better than the Z9. You still have 45 megapixels. The only thing that you don't have is, well, I take that back. When you go to electronic shutter, you've got 20 frames per second with your R5. I would be hard pressed if I had an R5. There's nothing that would lead me to the Z9. No, and you
Well,
can
and it's
hate
not that
me
so
for
much.
say that, but it is a great camera. That R5 is fantastic.
Yeah. I was actually a Nikonian for 15 years,
Oh goodness.
exclusively.
Yeah.
And, I switched over into Sony there for several years and then bounced around with a lot of different mirrorless. And then, when the announcement of the R5 came out, I just got so tempted because my whole career started with the D30 back in 1999 and then moved up into the original 1D. But when they came out with, and you'll remember this, I'm sure, when Nikon released the D200, it kicked it to the curb, and pretty much Nikon ruled the roost right through quite a few bodies. Actually, I had the 300, the 700, the 7100, and of course all those people that had the D3 and the D4 and the D5, the list is endless. But they pretty much were definitely a significant step ahead of what Canon was doing. Canon was really more mainstream, if you will, where Nikon's often been respected as being those that were serious professionals or very serious about what they were doing in general. And I hate to, basically use a wide brush on that, but I think it's fair because I've owned just about every camera you could name. I'm one of those guilty of that. But I think, for the most part, the only thing that I try not to cover too much, and I won't cover here tonight, although Chuck and I have covered it ad nauseum, I'm very anti-Adobe. Anything Adobe, and Chuck will tell you about that sometime. I won't go into
it's like a cult,
but
I tell you.
I'm definitely in bed with DxO as my primary go-to, and from there, but I was telling them the other day, I actually use another program as a sidebar called PhotoWorks, which does a number of things that's quite remarkable. I don't know if you've played with that, but you can do a free download of that program, and it does some amazing things. But the one thing I talked Chuck into trying, and I think he'll admit to it, that the new denoise program, as well as the sharpening AI program that Topaz came out with, they're absolutely unreal. And that thing is just really taking me for a loop because I've taken shots at 51,200 that look like ISO 100 and still with detail. So if you ever have the tendency to want to play with something like that, I would encourage it.
Yeah, I have. I've played with it. And I'm a workflow kind of guy. I want to spend the least amount of time as possible in front of the computer. And
there you go.
as much as I love Topaz and it does a great job, and I'm not going to say anything bad about it, I can't stand going into another program to continue my process. You know what I mean? It's like if I want to stay in one app, knock it out, export it to my files, and move on to the next picture. And
Sure.
and I don't know if it's impatience or what, but what I've done and you hate Adobe, so just get ready. But Lightroom Classic has implemented that new masking program that, in my opinion, with a quick click of a button, you mask your subject and then invert the screen. You can clean up a lot of noise without having to export it to another file. And what it does, in my opinion, and this is just from my personal experience, something happens. I don't know if it's banding or whatever it is when I go to Topaz, and there's like a fine line where if you do too much noise cleanup, a little bit of banding shows up. I can crank that noise all the way to 100%, get rid of it to nothing in Lightroom, and the banding doesn't show up. So, and hopefully Topaz will fix that, and they may have already. But that's one thing.
Yeah,
that's kind of
I actually have not seen what you're describing. I haven't actually seen it. Yeah. In fact, that's the only area I would disagree with what you're saying. Again, in your defense of Adobe, is that the control points on DxO, to me, run rings around everything that's offered by Adobe. I mean, it's just it's something.
I've heard that about DxO. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard
Yeah,
that about DxO, and I
yeah,
just
the
guess because
control
I'm getting
points are
stubborn.
phenomenal.
I think because I do video and I have this big suite, with all my stuff, I'm looking at the bottom of my computer screen here. It's just a workflow, and it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm sneaking up on
I
50.
wish I
So,
was as organized as you guys. I really do.
oh, come on, man. I know you're an old sergeant major. You're or warrant officer. You're
Uh,
Uh,
organized.
yeah, that's right. You're
well,
my
no, no,
you're my army Pizzo. I
That's
forgot
right.
about that. We actually have some. We probably shared the same ground at one time or another.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's good stuff, Lee. But back to what you said about getting that Z9. You'll definitely love it. It'll be incredible, but don't think that your mind's going to be blown compared to what you have with the R5. I feel like the
you know what it is
Z9.
too, though,
What's that?
and I think you can appreciate this because you've got it, you own it, and you have it in your hand. And I have no doubt about it. It's the ergonomics of that body to
Hands
me looks
down,
just
true.
so
Yeah.
luscious. I mean, I could just imagine holding that darn thing. And it's not like mine with a grip is bad. And I think you held one too. It's
Yeah.
not bad. The ergonomics on the R5 are superb, especially even without a grip. But
Mhm.
but still, I'm not adverse to having a two system scenario because, like the old saying goes, if one ever had a problem, it's always nice to have a backup.
Yeah. Yeah. I cannot argue with you at all about Nikon ergonomics. It's the reason I own Toyotas. I mean, just you get in it and everything's right where it's supposed to be. And I don't want to start that argument. I know a Chevy guy will be like, no, hang on. But, but,
Uh,
but yeah, and I think that has a lot to, it's what you're used to. I handed my Z9 to somebody that's a Canon shooter the other day, and his head exploded. Like, I don't know where anything's at. He couldn't even find the shutter button. So, it couldn't even figure out how to turn it on
uh,
and off. Theirs is on the left, by the way. Did
Uh,
y'all know that the Canon? Did you ever figure that out? How many years did it take you to figure out that the on off button was on the left side on a R5? That threw me for a loop. But
I
but
didn't.
yeah.
It's a little muffled. I couldn't hear him.
he's talking about the on and off button on your Canon.
Oh,
How,
I am shocked that everyone has such a problem with that. I can't figure it out. Now, I know if you're used to having it right by your shutter button, great, I get
uh-huh.
that. And I used to have it there for many years too, but I have no issues about it knowing that the thing is on or off because it's a whole separate button or switch.
That's funny.
But I
That's
just am shocked when I see people like that pro guy and all these other people complain about the switch being over there. I'm like, really? Like, what's that all about? I don't know. I mean, the thing
That's
about
funny.
it is with the R5, the difference is you need to customize several buttons to do exactly what you want them to do that you do on a regular basis. But the nice thing about the Z9 is you don't hardly have to customize anything because there's a button for every darn thing you can imagine wanting to do.
Yeah.
So
That is true.
you don't
That is
have to
true.
ever.
And now
you'll
it's got us
never have to
confused
menu
because we
dive.
can remap every button plus all the FN
Everything.
buttons. I mean, it's
Everything.
I know. You never have to go looking for anything. So that's a beautiful thing.
not to
I
mention the
agree.
buttons on lenses even.
Well, that's it. And of course, I have forever admired the Nikkor glass because, as we know, they're one of the main things that gets them their money. They're in the medical field, and their glass is impeccable.
Yeah.
So, and it's always been that way. Even their inexpensive glasses. When that 24 to the 24 to 200, I can't believe people just slam that thing, and I'm like, you got to be kidding, because I have seen too many results of that lens that makes you shake your head, go, how can he do that? And it's not even an S lens. So
Yeah, there's a group on Flickr that I'm with, the 24 to 200 group, because I was considering buying it and it keeps showing up in my Flickr feed. You are absolutely right, man. People are making incredible images with that. What does that lens cost? Like $400 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
Might be a little more than that, but even still worth it.
Either way,
What do you
yeah,
think?
exactly
It's a great
right.
walk around lens. I think, to me, that's a lot more walk aroundable or travelable
Mhm.
than the 24 to 120, because that's
Yeah.
just, you get that extra reach if you need it, and it's there. It's wonderful not to have to swap out lenses.
Amen. Very true.
Yeah. That's a
So
great thing.
true.
But I was joking with Chuck the other day. I bet Josh has got that 400 2.8, thinking he's going to have that on order, and his wife's going to give him that look.
Yeah.
Well, if you didn't see the
Well,
video, he sprung the question. I think
well,
he's a fiance now. I think she said yes.
Uh,
no,
oh,
so I want to address that, okay? Because when you're on YouTube, you're a little more public, right? I mean, I'm putting a lot of stuff out there, and people talk about that. And Chuck even mentioned it recently. People really care about how you spend your money, and and freak out about
Yeah.
dropping $14,000. But in my neighborhood, if you drive up and down my block, and on a Saturday, and you open up all these garages, you'll see $25,000 side by sides, and $20,000 or $40,000 boats, and every house up and down the street's got a $60,000 RV. I don't have any of that. I've got a 20-year-old Toyota pickup truck, that's paid off. My wife's car's paid off. We live in a very modest home in downtown Boise, and I love camera gear, right? And I've got a very healthy, salary. I do well. So to spend that kind of money, I don't spend it on other stuff, right? So
right, right.
it's I don't want to say it's easy for me to do that, but I'm not so spread thin on all these other things in life. So when I do that, she says what, but she knows. I mean, whatever. Yeah, you need another lens, go do it. And not only that, I make money now. I mean, I don't sell images, but YouTube is this past year has done pretty well. I mean, it paid for me to get a Z9. So
Great.
that paid for itself. So I just
Yeah.
I prioritize my finances in such a way to be able to travel and take pretty pictures. And yeah, that means I'm getting a 400 millimeter 2.8. And here's the next thing. My 600 f4 was a 20-year-old lens. 21-year-old lens, was made in
Wow.
2000 and no, I'm sorry, so it was 19. It was made in 2003, and I was the second owner of it. That
Hmm.
400 is going to do wonderful for 20 years, right? So you start breaking down the math on that. That's not a bad investment. You know what I'm saying?
You guys
If you
go
can,
a whole lot farther justifying than I do. I want it. I
yeah,
got it.
there you go. Exactly right. But yeah, I mean,
Well, right. Yeah.
we we live modestly. I mean, the only place that we do splurge is our little hobbies like this. So yeah, it's not too painful to
Like
be
I
able to do
said,
that.
man, nobody bats an eye. You say, I just bought a $20,000 8K, 10-foot TV.
Yeah,
They'll laugh
exactly.
about it and everything else,
Yeah,
but they're not going to drive you crazy. And
yeah,
you go out and if you buy a camera or a lens or anything, photo or whatever related, every financial manager in the world is attacking you. Do you really
yeah,
need it? Couldn't you get away with, hey, guy, you missed the whole point. I'm not making a living with this thing, okay?
yeah.
There's no way I can justify it. Therefore, I don't.
Right.
Well, that's the funny
Well,
thing you bring that up, because my accountant last year, the previous year from that, before I was doing my business and getting paid to do what I do, he asked me, he said, is this a business? And I said, absolutely. He goes, go for it. He
yeah,
says,
that's
I'll
right.
write you in for your deductions at the end of the year. Just keep all your receipts and, anything related to, what your business is. And it's not a problem. So that's it.
And I've got that same deal with my accountant. So all my photo gear, because I make money on YouTube, and I've got a sole proprietorship, I write off all my camera gear against
There
my
you go.
total income for the year. So yeah,
Right.
it's worth it. It's worth it. Plus, you guys want to see that stuff,
Now,
right? I mean, y'all want somebody to show you what it's like, and
Hey, what did I
I
throw in
want to
the
be that
comment
guy.
on your video? We're going to enjoy it too.
There you go. Exactly right.
well,
I bought it for
Josh
you
was,
guys.
and
I bought it for you, Lee.
I'm not just kissing
Uh,
anyone's behind by saying, I was a professional musician for many, many years, and I did a couple of indie albums. I had recording
yeah.
studios in my home, the whole nine
Oh
yards.
wow,
And I
wow.
can appreciate people doing the video stuff too, because I really enjoy your stuff. There's just when I watch it, I feel like my blood pressure goes down. I don't know how to describe that, but you're just so mellow about it. Your approach is just so sensible and not hyped and not egotistical like so many we watch, and we won't even drop those names, will we? Will we, Chuck?
No.
There's a few folks out there that they're clickbaiters to the max and all that stuff, and you're just being who you are, and you're in a really great part of the country, which helps too. And but your whole approach is really very sensible, and that's really what YouTube needs more of. Not these people with hype like Fro and everything. He goes out there and half his stuff is his advertisements, and irritating as hell.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and all I can say is that's just who I am. I mean, I got to be able to tolerate myself, if that makes sense. And and if I watch it back and I'm like, who is that jackass on the screen? I'll delete it. And I've done that. I mean, I've done some videos. I'm like, I sound like a dumbass. And I just and I delete it and I go back out in the field and I'm like, just be yourself, Josh. Stop trying to pretend to be somebody else. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate you saying that, because I think about it all the time. I go to sleep thinking about knowing that it's public, right? It may not seem like much, but less than 3% of the people on YouTube ever make it to 10,000 subscribers. And, a bunch of you guys jumped on board to watch a dumb old boy from Idaho. So it's been humbling and I appreciate it.
No, my pleasure.
So thank you. Thank you so much.
I've lived in a lot of places throughout the country before, you name it, I've been there. I used to travel for a living, in fact, from Ohio to the West Coast, and by car, no less. I was telling Chuck about that, but I used to take all my 50-pound backpack of equipment with me in the trunk just to take pictures while I was at it. So whenever I was ever in Washington or Oregon, California, all the hot spots there to take pictures, it made it easy. And I always encourage people to do that, to bring their gear with them. Don't leave it at home. It's important, but I think it's a lot of fun. And
Idaho's the prettiest place you've ever been, right? That's
well, especially the area I'm in. I'm 5 minutes away from, Thousand Springs, all the waterfalls,
so beautiful.
And the birds, the Snake River, and all that fun stuff. So
I'm thinking about coming to camp up there next weekend at that Thousand Springs campground. Might have to drop you a line.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck's got my number. Give me a call. Yeah, absolutely.
Will do.
Not unless I'm going.
What's that? Hey, you said you went to Utah for a long time. So
yeah, I did. You know what? I never got out to shoot when I was there, and I kicked myself. That's what work is all about. It drove me crazy.
Place.
The few times that I had a chance to go shoot, I didn't want to. I was too tired. But anyway. Beautiful place, though. Absolutely.
I've done that, Mike. Mike said the Milky Way, that sky out in that area is beautiful. Yep. I go to Bruneau Dunes. You know that area pretty well, Lee. Bruneau Dunes is a night sky. What do they call it? Where they don't, a conservancy or whatever it is, where they don't let light pollution within the ordinances are established in such a way that.
I think you're talking about up by Stanley. That's the area that's known for that.
It is too, but Bruneau is also another one on the list. For the state.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah. So here's an interesting thing. Looking south from Bruneau, and there's like a line of places down there, but looking south, there's no lights for like 300 miles. So you're looking into some of the darkest skies that you're going to see in the United States of America. So Mike is right about that. That's a beautiful place to take night sky photography.
There's another park there in Utah that's at 10,000 feet. That's the same thing. No light pollution. And
isn't that wonderful? And I hope they keep those places like that forever. Stanley is like that, like Lee said, which I'll be there in a couple of weeks too. Just absolutely gorgeous skies. Just
breaking my heart in the winter.
Well, get in the car, man. It's that Stanley Country Inn is $79 a night in the wintertime.
Oh,
and they got a great little dinner there. The guys come up from Redfish Lodge and cook meals at the Stanley Country Inn, and it's so good. So
that Redfish Lake is gorgeous too.
It's
in that area.
magical.
It's something else.
I'll be there a lot this summer. stay tuned. I got a lot of ideas for that place. Beautiful.
Won't blame you there.
Yep.
Definitely.
We appreciate you, Lee. Thank
Well,
you
I'll
so
let you
much
guys-
for your.
Yeah, good chatting,
You're a
and
good man. Let's stay in
give me a
touch
call
too.
when you're going to come down this way. We'll
I
have
will.
to hook up,
I
but
will.
that'd be great. That'd be fun. Yeah. Well, you
Appreciate
guys have fun tonight, and good talking to y'all.
All right,
Thank you,
Lee.
Lee.
Thanks for
so
calling.
much.
You bet. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah, there's definitely no cell phone coverage out at Bruno Dunes. It's a big sand dunes area with a couple of little ponds out there. And yeah, you better know that nobody's going to get in touch with you if you're out in that area. Gorgeous though. Beautiful
Bryce
place. Look it up.
Canyon.
Bryce Canyon's gorgeous. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, man, what a gorgeous area.
Yeah, just Preet, I don't know if, everybody's talking about the Starlink satellites. I don't know how that's going to affect things. I haven't seen them yet, but then again, I'm in Connecticut.
Yeah. Oh goodness. Can't imagine. They'll make for good star trails in your night sky photography.
Rings around Earth.
Well, hey, Chuck, we have been on for 2 hours, my friend, and I've got
Yes, sir.
family pacing around me, wanting to watch TV and all that stuff. So I hope you don't mind if I check out. And I can't thank you enough for allowing me this opportunity and talking with everyone. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience, and so grateful to everybody that came on.
Well, no problem at all, Josh. And, I appreciate the discussion last night. I'm glad you came on here. I hope everybody got the questions answered that they wanted. If not, we'll just have to do it again at some point.
Well, I appreciate you. And this is a great forum, and I'm subscribed, and I'm telling everybody out there to click that subscribe button so that they can see these wonderful guests you're having on. It's good stuff. So thanks
thank
again.
you, sir. You're more than welcome. And until next time, buddy.
Yep.
By all means, anytime.
All right. Have a good night, man. Y'all have a good one. And thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. All right. So you got to love Josh. I mean, it's always great to have him on. His videos are fantastic. Anybody that's seen them, I know you'll agree. And if you haven't, you need to go watch his videos. I tell him all the time that it's actually therapy for me. If I'm having a bad day, just go watch a Bayou Josh video and everything just calms down. His videography is great. Obviously, his bird photos are fantastic. And, I aspire to actually be able to do half of what he does. But right now, I have to just continue to get my house ready, get it on the market, and get out of here. And I'm going to continue to do this because I'm really having a good time. I hope you guys are too. It's because of people like Josh and Stu Blue and all the others. And by the way, Stu's he's ready to come on again. So we may get him in here before long. And this is all about just you guys being able to ask the questions. I try to keep the phone line going here so you guys have a chance to call in. I notice we always have a whole lot more people out there in viewer land than I see in the chat, and that's fine if you want to just hang out, watch, listen, or whatever. But I just encourage everybody to get in here in the chat and again, opine. I do that constantly, and you're welcome to do it as well. We don't bash other brands. We're Nikon centric for the most part. But if you don't shoot Nikon and you're out in the wings, we still want to hear from you. Lee's a big Canon shooter, as you heard, but we're not throwing anybody out the door because they don't shoot Nikon. So, got a link for Mr. Bayou Josh. Is that what you're asking, Roy? Yeah, I'll. What did that? It's in the reminder, the card for this. Yeah, Jeffrey, thanks for dropping in, man. And no hard work on my end. You guys do all the hard work. You get in here and chat and everything else. I'm just sitting back here running the switchboard or trying to. But I'll grab a link here in just a second for you, Roy. I'll put it in the chat for Josh's channel. So much clickbait out there. Yeah. And I'm trying not to do that, guys. If you see a clickbait title or you think it is, let me know. I'm just trying to have a good time. And again, and I know it sounds cliche, but my wife and I were talking about it today. She goes, "What are you trying to become, the Larry King of YouTube?" I said no, but that'd be okay too, I guess. I just honestly, and I said this in the very beginning, one of the things that I got tired of was watching all the videos and dropping a comment with a question after the video. And I understand that video gets 400 comments, and most of it's, "Hey, thank you. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and you're wonderful," and all that. And that's fine. But I have a question, and there's no chance that question ever gets read or answered. And I understand that. So the idea was, let's go on live and let people ask questions live. And there's a good chance they get an answer right away. So that's the premise of the constant live streams here, and trying to find interesting people that want to get on here and tell their story. And yeah, Larry King didn't have my hair. I got a haircut today, by the way. I told my wife last night, I said, "Yeah, it's Josh. He wants to come on the stream tomorrow night." She goes, "Well, you got to get a haircut." I don't know what that means, but but I did. I went and got a haircut. So, and it's just everything we do is just, do we stick to a subject? Not always. We kind of move around, and that's based on you guys, believe it or not. That's not us. So you guys kind of call the shots on where the show's going, and I enjoy that. Actually, it just keeps it lively. So if you know of other people that you'd like to see on the show, I'm going to quit calling it the stream. I'm going to call it the show. Drop a name and drop it in the comments after this rolls over to video, and I'm more apt to see it than trying to go through 200 or 300 comments in the chat. But drop it after the fact, and I will. I've been cold calling everybody. Some people are like, "Who are you?" No, thank you. But others have been kind enough to listen for a minute, and then they go and watch some of our videos. And I would rather they do that, because if they watch the live streams, previous streams, and they're happy with it, then they're more apt to show up and join in the gang, if you will. So, all right, enough of me promoting myself, but please do drop a like. And if you haven't, subscribe so that I can do some other things and, for the channel on YouTube. Okay, Charles sent me an email. All right. What got you started in motorsports anyway? Well, I grew up around hot rods. My uncle was an old dirt tracker. I loved hot rods. So, grew up with NASCAR. Don't care for NASCAR much anymore. It's kind of gone. I don't know. Motorcycles, rode them as a kid. Still enjoy motocross and supercross and all that kind of stuff. So I have, I don't know, when I started back playing with photography, I didn't get to do that until later on in life. And, I had the chance to shoot some motocross and got a chance to shoot some nationals and had a ball with it. So that was the big thing on sports. I do like action photography. I'm still playing with the bird photography thing, but I'm definitely no Josh, Bayou Josh. Larry Chin photography, popular motorsports photographer. Yeah, I found a bunch of those out there. Now, I'll tell you this. I can't stand watching a baseball game, but as a kid growing up, I loved playing baseball. So the weird thing is I love shooting a lot of the motorsports now. If I had the chance, that day may have gone by. But I don't watch as much as I used to. I do watch some of the crazy bikes. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. Agnetha, you're having a good quest on your live stream, brings people. I found your channel when you had Vahagan on. Oh, well, great, Agnetha. Yeah, I hope that some of the people bring folks over here with them just to see if they like the channel or whatever. And I hope a lot of people stick around. And again, I'm trying to be consistent. There is no perfect time for everybody around the globe, and I'm sorry about that, but That's the way it is. So that's why I went to Wednesday afternoon, and I'm going to remain consistent at that time slot on Wednesday. So Wednesday, 12 noon, I do another live stream. And it's hard to get guests for that because obviously here in America, everybody's at work during that time slot. But there are people that have an opportunity even in the middle of the week. But that gives folks overseas, Oconus, a little bit of breathing room, although it doesn't help over in Asia. And Jaspreet reminded me of that, even at noon here. So, maybe I need to do 3 streams a week, one for Asia, specific area, and one for Europe, and one for here in the States. So I don't know. Even here in the States, it's difficult. The YouTubers in California that want to start their stream at 10 o'clock at night. Well, we're like Europe then over here on the East Coast. So, all right, I'm just babbling. You guys can shut me up anytime. With the Z9, my daughter now has my D5. Oh man, I do miss my D5. 1515 in Australia. Okay, well that's not bad for you, is it? That's good. Hey, does it help me throwing the GMT time on the card? You guys can help me out. For those of you that aren't in the U.S., at least you have a baseline to work from to figure out what time it'll be. R5AF is great. I'm just going through grabbing some more comments real quick before we get out of here. Any questions you guys have of the channel or me or whatever, be glad to answer, even if it's I don't know. And I enjoyed chatting with you folks. I love the comments. I really do. Yeah, Roy, I thought that the Z9 would be exactly the same or so close that it wouldn't make a difference, but no, that's not the case. And not just that, but again, as we mentioned before, just the programming, the layout, the way you want it. It's a new computer. You just have to sit down with it as if it's a computer and figure it out. Reflex lenses. Yeah, I remember you asked that earlier. I know that, is it Tokina that just came out with 2 new reflex lenses? I know that I've never actually used a reflex lens, but I remember I knew someone that had it was the Nikon 500 millimeter reflex lens, and he used it for astrophotography, and he loved it. All right. So, like I said before, I'll continue. Tokina is the reason for the question. Okay. So you just want to know, you're interested in. Yeah, I have no experience with them myself, but like I said, I had a friend that loved them. I would trust that his judgment was good because he just did some phenomenal astrophotography. 2 to 600. Yeah, there are a lot of people waiting on that 2 to 600, and rightly so, because it's going to be interesting. Nikon did a good job with the 2 to 500. A lot of people did reviews and paired it against the 500 f4 and several other lenses, and it seemed to do well when tested against those other lenses. Will the 2 to 600 be even better? Right now with S-Glass in the Nikon lineup, I think everybody's extremely happy, even with those lenses that aren't S. I know Matt Irwin just did a test with the new Nikon 28 to 75 2.8, and he did find that it wasn't quite as sharp as the S-line glass, but is it good enough for what you want to do? So that 2 to 600, I don't think you can lose with that lens. We'll see when it comes out, but I know a lot of people are waiting on it. Now, everybody talks about, well, it's comparable to, at 600 millimeter, it's comparable to the 600 f4. I just find those comments to be hard to believe. There is magic in those long telephoto lenses, and the zoom telephotos just can't match it. The 1-400 is a great lens. Will that 400 hold up against the 400 2.8? Not a chance. It'll be great for those of us that can accept that's what it produces, but for the absolute professional out there and people like Josh, no, it's never going to give him the results that he wants. The one exception to this is, I don't know if it's an exception or not, but that 500 PF, and I know some of you have it, that is an incredible lens. It's got the magic secret sauce in it, and it works extremely well. And the photos are fantastic. And if you guys haven't noticed, I don't know how many Z9 photos have popped up since the Z9 arrived, and the glass used is the 500 PF. So I'd love to have that too. I just can't buy it all at once. Yeah, Charles, and me too. I have the 24-70 f4, and it's fine right now for what I'm doing. I have thought I might want that 24-120, but I got to thinking, this is just jonesing for lenses to be jonesing for lenses, because I've got enough 24 millimeter lenses, or I've covered that focal length 3 times over, so I don't need another one. And rarely is it ever need with me. It's more want, but I don't think I'll get it. I don't know what my next lens is. I think I want an 85. I do want a studio lens. So 85 may be the next lens, whether it's 1.8 or 1.2. We'll see when that lens comes out. I don't know, but Jerry Guionis gave the 51.8 a big high five, saying it was the lens that he uses. He didn't want the 51.2. He says the 1.8's fine for him, and I understand that in a studio. You're shooting at f5.6 or to 8, so do you really need the 1.2? So I don't know. The 600 is better. Let's see, better than the 500. Man, now you put me on the spot. It's got a third stop light or half stop light difference, but I don't know. The 600 is just magic in my opinion. I mean, look at the photos over on Josh's page or his channel. They're just fantastic. Now, shooting an owl that's buried in a tree, it's still going to be better than some of the other lenses, but you're not throwing the entire background out of focus, depending on how far away he is, I guess. Let's see. I hate to focus 85 1.2. Yeah, and that's one of those. And the reason I say that I'm thinking about that lens is because I definitely like creative photography. So that covers both in the studio, for headshots and things like that, because I'm not shooting it at 1.2, but it gives me a lot of flexibility to shoot it at 1.2 in other creative environments. So the Nifty 50. Are you talking about the old Nifty 50, Jesprit, or are you talking about the new 51.8? Oh, the old 50. Yeah, I haven't shot the 51.2 yet, but I want it because I've seen people using it very creatively, and I thought, ooh, man, I like that. I have the 200 f2, and I've actually carried that at events, believe it or not. I love what it does, especially if you get some separation between the subject and the background. Man, and I know you can't shoot every photo that way, and a lot of people are already complaining it's getting out of hand, and I kind of agree. But man, when you see that photo, you just fall in love with it, where everything just melts behind the subject. Yeah, I would suspect that, Robert. Shooting at 1.8, would the 1.2 be sharper than the 85 1.8? I would expect that. But that's the nice thing about the new Z glass is it is incredibly sharp compared to the old glass. The old glass is no slouch, but I don't know, man. I don't know if it's just the mount or what, but they found something new. So far, let's see, from far is not the only, but a whole lot more in focus. Yeah. Man, you had a great turnout tonight. I really appreciate all you folks showing up. And, it's always fun having Josh around. We got to get on Mr. Stu Blue. We're going to get him in here. And that's just a fun night, man. Just with him, everything's fun. 1.8 D7000. Let's see, I was so amazed. You know that, yeah, that F mount, the G 51.8. Yeah, that was a good lens. No, wait a minute. Am I confused here? I didn't have a 50 millimeter lens, believe it or not, in the G mount or F mount. Not G mount, but the F mount. But I know that there was talk about the 1.8 lenses were definitely good lenses. Intrigued about the 500 PF. Hesitant about buying more F lenses. Yeah, I hear you, Gustavo. I'm the same way, but I really like what I've seen so far. Now, the nice thing is that as Nikon continues to fill out their telephoto line, those 500 PF lenses might begin to get a little bit cheaper, and that's going to be a good buy because that lens was only $3,500 new. You know, if you can pick up one of those for half price, that's a steal. And I think we're going to find them here before too awfully long. And there's nothing wrong with that lens. Look at the photos that are coming out, man. Okay, Roy, that makes sense. Not buying the 85 1.2, mainly headshots, and you wouldn't be using it wide open. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, the 400-2.8, it's going to be a sweet lens. I don't even have to see the results already. Just knowing what Nikon's doing with glass right now, that 400 is going to be amazing. Considering it covers 3 focal lengths, well, pretty much. And with a 1.4 TC, if there's no degradation in resolution, then, man, you definitely get three standard focal lengths. Yeah, the 500 PF, I haven't held it, but I understand everybody talks about how light it is. That lens I would have bought. I was not on the fence. I was ready to buy that lens, and Nikon couldn't produce it in enough quantity. And I finally just lost interest. But I would have had that lens if they could have produced them faster. But a lot of people waited a long time to get it. What else we got? I don't know if I tried to keep up with most of the comments as you guys were talking earlier. I don't see anything else. New message. Let me pop back down there to the bottom. Second 400 on the roadmap. Yes. Is that going to be a PF lens? I'm thinking it is. And yeah, that I may be interested in too. Definitely won't be a 2.8. Hey guys, give me just a second. Let me run in here. I got to turn something off. It's beeping. It's driving me crazy. Yeah, not to bore you all with home woes, but I just had a lot of plumbing work done on my well pump and well tank and everything. And it's got a sensor on it that if it senses overpressure, it beeps. And I was told that it will do that for the next few days until the tank stabilizes or something. So I had to go check, though, to make sure it wasn't beeping a certain color or whatever, blinking a certain color. Oh. Charles, you ordered the 2 to 500, but then gave up. Yeah, it's been the problem here recently. The 28 to 75 2.8 Bokeh looks better than the Tamron Gen 1 28 to 75, and Flare also looking better. Yeah, Jaspreet, I don't know if you follow or watch Matt Irwin, but he just dropped a video tonight or today comparing it to the 24 to 70 2.8, the 24 to 70 4 F4, and the 24 to 105 or 120 F4. It's interesting. It's not enough to scare everybody away. I mean, considering it's 2.8, I think it does a great job, but you can see there is a bit of a difference. Roy, you love your 600 F4, but it's yeah. Yeah, you don't have to tell me about the weight of that lens. I mean, I understand the 400 isn't, well, no, the 400 2.8 I think is so close in weight. The old, I don't even have a G. I've got the D mount or D version of the 400 2.8. You put that on that Wimberley gimbal and that Gitzo Series 5 or Series 3 tripod, or no, Series 5, I don't know. Man, you're talking about a bunch of weight and carrying that thing. So, yeah, I'm with you. Hey, somebody here. Let's see. Hello. Here we go again.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes, sir.
How you doing?
Hey, is this Mr. Vahagan? Hello? Lost you. Well, maybe he'll call back. I think it's Vahagan. I think. Yep, here we go. Can you hear me now? No TV commercial, right?
Chuck.
Yeah.
It's Vahagan. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. You're on the show, brother.
Hey, I was just driving back home from the coast, and I knew you had the show. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir. Let me see.
I'm in my car, man.
Okay.
I knew you had a show, and I just I checked you were on live. I'm like, let me call him.
Yeah. Yeah, Josh was on, and he just left a few minutes ago. But yeah, you caught me before I got out of here.
Yeah, I want to say hello, and I'll rewatch it because I missed it. But I have a question. I have a chance to buy a 600 FL.
Oh.
But the thing is that I asked a good friend of mine, Patrick Smith. He's a news photographer. He knows a lot about these lenses,
Yeah.
So he's like, don't buy it. He's like, don't buy that lens. I'm like, well, the guy's offering it for $6,500.
Ooh.
And that's a $12,000 lens.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, okay, Z9 or 600 FL? Z9 or 600 FL? So I'm going back and forth, and lenses are lenses. So I'm thinking it's enticing, but I don't know. I'm probably just gonna go with the Z9 for now. I don't know.
Roberto said both. So what do you guys think out there in the audience?
Yeah, and it's just it's tempting because
That new 600 FL, I mean, man. Or the Z9.
Yeah.
If you had to choose, what would you guys choose?
So I'm just going back and forth. I have the 400G. I love that lens, and I'm thinking, okay, because I'm almost there, man. I'm like fourth in line already.
Yeah.
At my store, and they said it's any time now with the Z9, and so I'm all ready to buy that thing. And then this offer came to me, and it's like $6,500 for 600 FL in great condition. So the guy offered it to me, and I'm like, wow,
So Roy says he'd buy the Z9 and wait for Z Glass. Charles says Z9. Mike says Z9. Jaspreet says Z9.
Yeah.
It's hard to pass up the Z. This is it's a quandary, man. And I understand where you're at, because if you pass on the Z9 right now, it may be a long while before you can get one in your hands. Then again, if you pass up this lens, will you see another 600 f4, the FL version, anytime soon at that price? That's a tough one.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, okay, Z9 will always be, it's a camera body.
Yeah.
But the 600 FL, am I going to have this opportunity anytime soon?
And I can't tell you what to do either, Vahagan, but, I guess you just have to sit down and think, how much are you going to use the 600 FL? I'll tell you right now, I know I wouldn't use it a lot, but I know that I would use it. And I've got a tripod and gimbal already set up for, a heavyweight like that. That's the other issue that you have is, it's not a handhold lens. Although I do know a guy that shoots motocross, honestly, with a 600 FL on a D4, which he loves, and shoots all day long with that thing. Sometimes he'll put it on the, monopod. But it is a fantastic lens. It really is. And at that price for the FL version, the new version of that lens, I think it's a great deal. Now, again, you got to go back and think about, if I do that, then am I going to have to give up on the Z9 for a while? Josh was in here talking about that, and he'd heard possibility of, if you ordered a Z9 now, you won't see it till next year. Now, we don't know exactly how good that info is, but are you willing to do that? You have a camera that you can use that lens on. You've got a D4. You've got a D850 or D810, right?
Yeah, D4, D800, two Z6s.
Yeah.
Z50. I mean, I have cameras that just, this is, my dream lens was a 600 millimeter.
Mine always has been too.
Yeah. So I'm like, damn, man, $6,500. And it's in great condition, and the guy's babied it, and he's like, "Hey, I like your channel, and I want to offer him. I'm going to sell it. I'm going to sell it to the store, and this is, you want it?" So I don't know, man. It's crazy. It's tempting. I mean, I could buy both, but I mean, it's just going to stretch.
Yeah, I know how you feel. That's the same way I felt. I wanted a couple of other things, and I could have bought it, but that would have just crippled me for a while, with the Z9. So it was enough stretching it to get the 1-400 with it. Yeah.
No, I feel you, man. I feel you.
Can you guys hear Vahagan okay? I just don't want you sitting in a void, or because let's see.
Can you hear me?
Oh, okay. So Mike was asking, can you justify that lens making dollars? And I don't know if that's something you wanted to do, Vahagan. For me, Okay, so everybody can hear you. So for me, it would never be part of the equation, but that may be different from you because you have a wedding photography business. And
Oh no,
obviously
that's
we're
not
not
for
talking
wedding.
about using it for the business, but so
No, it's purely for pleasure, obviously. But I'm starting to get into birding thanks to Josh, and yourself. I mean, I see your bird shots all the time, and they're amazing.
he has that effect on people, doesn't he?
Yeah, and I don't know, man. That's my dream lens. And the funny thing is, Patrick, he said it's a good deal, but that's the worst of the bunch.
So yeah, so that's the thing about it. It is such a good deal on that lens. I mean, for what it is, and it's like anything. When we find a good deal, it's not going to last forever. And if you pass it up, when are you going to get the opportunity again?
Yeah, he said. Patrick told me that the 400 FL, the 500 FL, and they're sharper than the 600. But the 600 has always been, amazing as well. And so I was talking to him today earlier, and he's like, yeah, well, that's a good deal if you really want it. And then I told him, look, the Z9 II is going to come out in a couple of years. And, man, I don't know, man. I asked another friend, he goes, you know what, lenses over bodies. But
yeah,
I go,
that's a common theme for people to preach, glass before bodies. And I understand what they're saying, but sometimes you want both.
Yeah, it's just, I have the opportunity, and the Z9 is going to cost me $6,000, which I already put a $500 deposit on. But, it's going to cost me close to $6,000. That's like my 600 FL money right there. Man, a 600 FL, can you imagine?
No, I can't. I would. Yeah, I know. That's why I've got a 400 2.8 sitting back here that's older than we are.
Yeah.
Because
and that thing is not heavy at all, I heard.
No, it's a lot lighter, yeah. I think Roy said 2/3 the weight of the G.
Wow. You put a 1.4 teleconverter on there. It's what, 800?
No, it's 900 almost.
900, something like that.
Yep, 860 millimeters, something like that.
Oh man, I don't know what to do, man. I'm so tempted. My dream lens was a 600, and I've used to own the 600G like 7 years ago.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It's just it was a nice piece of glass, and I'm tempted to get both. I'm probably just gonna try. I don't know, man.
Nobody really wants to give you advice here and tell you this is what you should do, because there is a chance you're not happy either way. I don't mean with the product, but you're not happy that you picked one over the other. That's a tough one.
$12,200 on B&H.
Yeah. That's why I don't own one.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Hey, you're doing a good job. I was out in Newport Beach today, and just doing my thing on Saturday, and then I'm like, oh man, I miss Josh, and I'm gonna go rewatch it, a little bit of it, and see what you guys are talking about. But hey, keep on going, keep on rocking, man.
No,
I gotta tell you,
I am Vog, and it's fun. I'm enjoying it, and I enjoy all you guys too. Try to keep up with everybody's videos that are coming out and everything else. But the more I subscribe to, the more people, and I feel, I don't know, kind of crazy that way. I feel obligated to at least tune in, or at least as much as I can, and watch the videos. But man, my subscriber list that I've accumulated is getting so long, it's hard to keep up with all you guys. You have been on a run here with videos lately.
Yeah, right. I mean, I'm just trying to throw out content, and I'm having a good time. and I love it. But I put out a podcast video the other day, and I said, you know what? I'm trying to just change a few things around what I'm doing. But we evolve. We evolve. We learn, and we try to better ourselves. And but with I love what you're doing, and keep it up, man. I have to see what I want to do with my talks. I have a talk coming up Wednesday. Hey, I heard you changed the time slot on Wednesday, right?
Yeah, Wednesday I'm doing Wednesday afternoon, noon Eastern time. So it turns out that's what is it, 1700 GMT for those in Europe. So it kind of gives them a chance to be in and not be in here in the middle of the night. I can't replicate.
Oh, so you're on at 12 p.m.
Yeah, on Wednesdays.
Is that my time or your time?
No, that's my time. 9 a.m. your time.
9 a.m. my time. I got a talk on 6 p.m. With Stu Blue and Eric Snyder, a fashion swimsuit photographer.
Okay.
And he was. I told Stu Blue about it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I love swimsuits." I'm like, "Well."
That's the guy to have on for that chat, no doubt about it. He'll bring some life to that.
And then if you notice, I promoted it and I labeled it 18 and then there was 16, and then you guys might be wondering what happened to 17.
Mm-hmm.
And 17, I got Omar Gonzalez on Tuesday.
Wow.
Yeah, Omar Gonzalez. He requested not to go live, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. So it's probably just going to be pre-recorded.
Okay.
And, just excited about that. Pick his brain a little bit.
Yeah.
But I really like the live. I really like the live setup because people can ask questions, interact and stuff.
Yeah. And I'm loving the phone. Finally, we got it up and going. I mean, there's a little, bug in it. I mean, not terrible. It just answering it. I have to reconnect it to the Roadcaster each time, but hey, it's working out well and people can call in. I hope people will continue to use it. I have to get better at using it from my perspective, meaning, managing the time on the phone and no problem with you right now, but people can get on the phone and get very lengthy, and it kind of, I don't want to do that. And I want everybody to have an opportunity to call in or ask their questions and we answer the questions, but it does liven up the show, especially if you have a guest or two in here, plus a phone caller. The banter really gets going, and the chat room, all these wonderful people in the chat room, definitely add to it. And that's what's fun about it right there. That's when it really takes off and we're all having a good time.
No, I like this because, hey, I'm not even watching the show and I'm driving.
Yeah.
And I'm participating. It's awesome.
And that's,
you got to show me how to do that.
Yeah. and it's one of the things that, since I'm not, my channel isn't so much visually oriented, it's all discussion, talk, this, that, and whatever. Not that we don't throw some things up there sometimes, but you can listen in without even having to watch. And I hope that people realize that. And it's kind of like listening to the radio. You get bored with us, you can turn us off.
Hey, I got to have you on one of my talks.
Yeah.
Probably the next one. Probably the next one. Let's see what I can do. It's hard, man, because thing is that I have to coordinate with the guests, and it's like you have to arrange a time.
Yeah.
With them, it's like, okay, when is it good for you? And
that's what I'm trying to do. And the audience is in here listening to all this right now. What I'm trying to do is I want to get set in, my time window, time slot, that I've chosen. And I chose Saturday based on a lot of people saying Saturday would be good. That's the evening show, if you will. And then Wednesday, I dropped that back to noon because that opens up Europe, more comfortable time for them. And you know what? If people are going to come on my show, now it may sound terrible, but hey, you got to fit into one of my time slots, because that's when the audience gets used to the stream taking place. And, if people don't want to go live, maybe somewhere down the road, I'm not saying we're too good for to do a recorded show. Not at all, but we're live, and there's a reason I'm live, and that's because all these kind of things like this happen, and you have a good time. I mean, again, it's live, whatever happens, and people can chat in the chat room at the same time and ask questions, or as I tell them all the time, drop their opinion based on a comment that me or a guest or anybody makes.
That makes sense. I love the structured time thing you're doing. It just, people are used to it, like you said.
Yeah.
And also, like you had Josh earlier, he has a structured set time when he uploads videos.
Yeah.
And you know that it's Friday morning to watch the Bayou Josh video.
Yeah. You look forward to it.
Yeah. So anyway,
Roy,
all right, well, thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chuck. And I'm probably going to go, and I'm just getting home right now and unwind and watch some of the earlier session here.
All right, brother. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah.
I hope we made
guys.
your ride home a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. This is great.
All right.
This is awesome. All right, brothers. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right. Talk to you later, Vog, and be safe, buddy.
So wait a minute.
Yep.
You didn't answer my question. 600 or Z9?
I gave you everybody else's answer, and I think I can't do that to you, man, because you'll hunt me down and shoot me later if you realize, man, I wish I'd have got the lens or the camera.
I want your opinion.
As much as I want a 600 f4, and if I didn't have the Z9 already, and I had that money sitting there waiting for the Z9, honestly, I'd hold out for the Z9. I really would. I want a 600 f4. I've wanted one forever, but you have a 400 2.8, so all is not lost. You've got a great lens there. Yeah, I mean, personally, I would hold out for the Z9 and then wait and see what happens with the 600 f4, the FL lens. Who knows? He may have that lens for a little bit longer and give you a better opportunity after you've got your Z9 to make a decision.
Yeah, so go with the Z9, huh?
I would. I'm not telling you to do that. I would.
I put out a poll. It's 80-20. 80% Z9, 20% 600 FL.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Yeah.
All right, Z9 it is. Well, if you see me live with the 600 FL, then that means I'm getting both. So.
Okay. Well, then I envy you even more.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see.
All right.
We'll see how much available credit I got on my card.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Oh, here you go. Malcolm says, I have the 600 FL, the 500 PF, and the 300 2.8. I want a Z9.
Yeah. Ask him what he thinks of the 600 FL.
You just did. Let's see if he answers.
Yeah.
Roberto says Z9.
Z9. Yeah.
That's what he says. Look here, folks.
Yeah. Well,
late at night, we're helping a fellow photographer spend his money.
Well, here's one thing. In 2 years, that Z9, how much is that Z9 going to be worth in 2 years?
You're right. It's going to decrease in value where the lens, you probably won't see a decrease for a while at that price. But Malcolm says he loves his 600 f4 FL.
Thank you, Malcolm. Thank you for confusing the decision more. Hey, so in 2-3 years, that Z9 is going to trade for what? Probably about 35.
Probably.
And and you know the Z9 II is coming with dual processors, and you know, because Nikon always does this stuff, and you know, the 600 FL is going to still be up there in price, $6-7 grand. So I don't know. I'll see what I get. Well, I'm gonna have to sleep on
it. Oh man.
Yeah. So today I'm gonna make a decision because, man, when I look at that lens and that front element and just the way it scoops up like that,
yeah,
you know, the design,
yeah,
it just looks like a beautiful sculpture.
Yep.
So I'm like, this is my dream.
Roy says G-Lens
right,
prices are dropping fast. G-Lens?
G-Lens?
Yeah, G-Lens. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an E-Lens, my friend.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, guys. Good night. We'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, Boggin. Thanks for dropping in.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir. Have a good night.
All
right. Well, folks, I don't know if we helped him spend his money or save money. I don't know. I want a 600 bad. It is a sexy lens, Roy. You're right. I've wanted one for the longest time. Actually, 6 years ago, I thought I was going to just bite the bullet, and it was going to be a used lens, but it was going to be an expensive purchase back then. I didn't, so still jonesing for it. So I've got the poor man's 800 now. That's right, the 1-400 with the 2x TC. Oh, someday I'll have that lens, or the new version of it. By the time I can buy a lens like that, it'll be the newer version, one of the Z mount lenses. But yeah, the 400, whatever it is, PF or whatever, that the F5.6 400, or who knows what it's going to be. Yeah, I'm interested in that too. But buying these lenses, I'm never going to get the 600 if I keep going down that road. I just need to find a way to save that money, put it away so I can't touch it until I have enough to buy a 600 millimeter lens, a good one. Oh, Canon and Nikon prices going up. You talking about for all the new gear? Yeah, Charles. A lot of people feel that that's going to happen, but you know, well, we'll see. We'll see. I don't want to weigh in on that just yet. I don't have a feeling on that just yet. I'm hanging it out there now with the Z8 or whatever they're going to call it. I do believe we're going to see that camera this year. Yeah, man, that 600 is just, I don't know. Yeah, the Z9 price, yeah, it's not going to go up. It's not going to go up this year. Oh, hang on, we got another call. Hello.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Yes, I have a question. You've been talking about all the bodies, stuff, and everything. I think Nikon needs to design to his strength with the, with the Z mount and light gathering abilities. They should be putting out a something new and different in optics. And like, I think that I'm one of the lucky few souls that has a 105 micro, and it's a fabulous lens.
Yeah.
So why not make one that is an F2 that can do everything that it's doing now, but also add a teleconverter that is designed specifically for that lens. I mean, even apochromatically corrected. And so they'll make it a 210 macro lens. So you don't even have to have, look at buying, another lens.
You talking the 105 micro specifically?
Yeah.
And a TC designed for that lens.
Yes, specifically. See, there is no teleconverter that can go onto the back of a 105.
Are you talking the new 105, sir?
Yes, the new 105.
Okay, yeah. It doesn't accept the TC. I see what you're saying. Well, there are a lot of people that are talking about Some of the legacy lenses, the 180. Help me out here, folks, in the chat. Some of you guys have worked with those, or 200 millimeter macro lens too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, at this point, I don't think Nikon's going to do anything more with the macro lens. The 105 is what we get right now, because they have so much catching up to do yet with filling out the rest of the lens roadmap. But like you're like me. I know there are a few things I wish that they would put in the lens roadmap. We talked about cine lenses a while back, but I don't expect them to do that right now. That's just, I think it's a bridge too far. However, your idea with the 105, I think is a great idea. I don't know when Nikon would be able to do that. It obviously won't be. Well, Roy, right now the 105 doesn't accept the TC, but you're right. Yeah, you're going to have you can get bellows for the 105 that we have right now if focal length is the objective.
But there are times you do need to get out and have that distance still separating.
No, you're right. You're right. And I mean,
getting a bellows now, forget
it. How? What kind of a reproduction ratio are you looking for in the macro lens?
I'm already 1-to-1, but I'm looking at being able to keep my distance away from a subject and not disturb.
Okay. So what are you actually shooting, if you don't mind saying? Give me an example of what you're shooting macro.
This is going to be primarily flowers, things like that.
Okay. Well, now this is going to sound ridiculous, and I'm not telling you to go do this, okay? But the minimum focus distance on that new 100 to 400 is incredible. It's only, I think, 15 inches, 16. No, I'm sorry. Maybe it's 20 inches. I'm not sure. And at 400 millimeter, with less than half a meter minimum focus distance, it's a pretty incredible, believe it or not, macro lens. I was playing with that the other day. And I'm not saying go out and do that. It just depends on what you're shooting macro. If you want to shoot a fly's eye, and some of the, you see these macro shots where you can see every little reticle in his eye, then you're right. You need a great reproduction ratio and a longer focal length if you're trying to do it out and about, walking around.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, let's see, 6-month wait, George's 6-month wait on the 105 MC lens. I know that they were just in stock not long ago, but that's probably over.
One.
Did you get one then? Okay.
Yes, I had placed it in 2 weeks. I had the thing.
Okay.
And I thought that was going to be a 3-4 week, wait forever. And it showed up.
Well, I'm sorry. What's your name again, sir?
Mark.
Hey, Mark. I'm glad you called in. Thanks for calling in first. I don't see any change in what we've got for macro anytime soon. Again, I think they're more concerned right now with filling out the roadmap, and they have a few other lenses that we know we want, and it's going to, they're going to be included in the new updated roadmap whenever that comes out. And you're right, that lens will not accept the TC in the Z mount. So, I mean, it is what it is. There is the possibility, and I know you just bought this lens. Why would you want to go get another lens? But there are some legacy macro lenses in the Nikon lineup in the F mount. And you could look at that, and some of those may be even relatively cheap now. But, why would you go buy an old lens when you just bought a new one?
Yeah. That's the way I look at it. No.
Yep.
And you have to understand, I used to have a like a 100 millimeter Apo Amerit.
Okay.
That, is my standard at which I compare all things, because that lens was legendary in sharpness, even back in the mid 1980s.
Yeah.
Because there are very few apochromatic lenses that are out, running around. They just, the Japanese typically design for a price point in the market. And, when they had to switch over from film to digital, they had to up their ante on lens design.
Yeah.
Because, their lenses were not up to snuff.
Well, let me ask you this, since they are hard to come by, and I know if some of the people in the audience do have, in the chat do have it already, what do you think of that new 105 macro?
I have just been, I recently had a house fire, and I lost both Nikon Z and my Leica R lenses that I had and had them converted over. They were, they found it, where they were in a bag, in a puddle on the floor. So I had to start basically almost over. All I had left was the 14 to the 30 zoom and the Z7. That was it.
Okay. So you lost your 105 in that.
I lost my 100 millimeter Elmerit
Okay.
macro completely, and I mean, I had a 90 millimeter Summicron, Apo Summicron, and 180 Apotelite that was a delight to use because it's so small and light. Because I like that lens because you pull that out, and when you pull out long lenses, the head starts snapping around, looking like, oh no, he's out to shoot us.
Yeah.
And they, they run away like scalded dogs.
Yeah. Great street photography lens.
Yeah. This is, Lycan did it so beautifully. Yeah, it was a 3.4. It wasn't very fast, but it was fast enough, particularly with the, with the digital sensors. Yeah, it didn't matter.
Right. Well, I don't know that Nikon's going to do anything outside what they offer right now on the macro, the 105 and the 60. Is it the 60 or 50?
It's 50.
50, yeah. I don't know because I really don't shoot any macro. I have a Zeiss F2 100 that I used one time. I needed it's not the greatest macro lens, but it's a beautiful lens. But yeah, that's all I've done macro wise, other than using my telephoto zooms as a macro lens or close focus, close up lens, not really macro.
I try sometimes. I just open you think out of the box.
Yep.
Because we get in ruts. I'm sorry to say that.
Yep, we do. We're
all talking about the EBF problem. I'm going to say, that's, you have to hear the guys that talk about TVs and, it's, on brightness and, being able to have, variable frame refresh and all this kind of stuff that, and be able to play games. And it's kind of the tail wagging the dog for a small minority of people, and it's ridiculous. And some of the things that's going on goes back to electronic displays. And you have sometimes there is a lag in your display, and that's why he's not seeing stuff the way on the autofocus.
Right.
Those are just some of the they have their own battles to fight on engineering just to make the stuff work.
Yeah.
And that's probably what's it's all revolving back to. And with computer processing power, sometimes we're running up against the limits of what the microprocessor can do.
Yeah, and we've seen that I mean that change with the Z9 and the new processor for it. But you're right. You're right.
So I've watched this stuff long enough and everything, and I think this would be a good way that they, if they could make the teleconverter match specifically to the 105, then you solve the problem, and they don't have to have the overhead cost of building a 200 millimeter macro for those people that want that.
Well, either way, they're going to there'll have to be a new lens. I mean, it's not going to be possible with the current 105 because it will not accept the TC, the teleconverter. So,
well, if there's a will, there's a way, as they say.
Well, I guess you're right. There is a possibility. They're already amazing as some of the new technology. So,
as my professor said one time in architectural design, we can build that mile high building anytime we want to. It's just if we want to rear back for enough money at the problem.
Right. Yep, you're absolutely right. And I know that now we're also talking about all the other issues that we have in supply and chips and everything else. And I don't know how much of it's true, but I think one of the things that was brought up earlier tonight is workforce shortage. That could be a big issue in this industry as much as it is in so many other industry right now. So who knows though?
For people to go to work and not stay home.
Yeah. A lot of people would rather do that and continue to live on the dole. There are people that need that, and then there are people that are just using it right now. But that's one of the problems we're having, and that could be again part of the problem with production.
That's right.
It may not be just parts; it could be workforce. So hopefully they'll get all that sorted out too.
As Pogo said a long time ago, we have met the enemy, and it is us.
Yes. And we can be our own greatest enemy. No doubt about that. Hey, Mark, I really appreciate you calling in. I'm glad I don't know how you found the channel, but you're welcome back here all the time.
Oh, I'm telling and everything. I graduated summa cum laude at a local junior college, and that junior college had a better photo lab as far as equipment, and they built most major universities too.
Yeah.
And had an excellent instructor had structure and everything. So I saw it all. I was even taught by a Brooks School photography graduate on commercial photography. I know how the old way was old school way.
Mm-hmm.
They do photography. And, the black and white, color, and transparency all together. And you had to have it ready for, the following, 2 weeks later,
Right.
And it was fun trying to keep up with that.
Mark, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm getting ready to end the stream. And you called in right before we wound down to that. But again, thank you for the call.
Oh, you're welcome, and I hope you find that interesting to think about.
Yes, sir.
I think it would be something different from anything else and anybody else. And, they just patented a little thing on an 85 1.2 that's going to have selected
defocus. Yep.
And see that's playing to a strength that they've done before, but it's kind of come out fashion. Now here it is. It's coming back in.
Right.
Fortunately, I love that.
Yeah.
So you just, I think that's one way they could do it. You have engineers for the bodies and you have engineers for the optics. And so,
yeah,
a little cross fertilization, maybe they'll come up with something.
I hope so. I hope they meet everybody's needs here down the road, but there's a lot of people out here that have a lot of different ideas, and obviously they can't do it all. They can't do it all at once, but we'll see what they do. Right now, I'm more concerned with them coming out with a filler with their next prosumer body to be on par with Canon and Nikon, or Canon and Sony. We need that R5 competitor and the Sony A7S 3 and 4. We need something to compete with those cameras in that slot. So hopefully that's going to be one of their biggest focus for this year, and get it out there, and then continue. They're doing a good job on the lens roadmap, but continue to go down through that lens roadmap. And then let's see what comes next as far as lenses. Who knows? It could be a long focal length macro. I don't know. I don't know what's up next.
Who knows what's going to be? But but I also believe that we should follow a dictum that Steve Jobs one time said. He wanted the Apple computer to be simple to use like an appliance. Well, they're getting to be such anything you go to, it's so complicated. You got to be a software engineer to operate the darn thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it needs to be, you pick it up, you can start using it, and then you can go learn all the fine points.
Yes, sir.
So that's my piece tonight. So enjoy it, think about it, and go from there.
All right, sir. Hey, don't be a stranger. Make sure you come back. We've always got some kind of good conversation going. So.
Oh yeah. You say, darling, the older I get, the longer it takes for me to look like me in the morning.
Me too, Mark. Me too. All right. Thank you for the call. I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Okay.
And look forward to seeing you back.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right, sir. Bye-bye. All right, Mark. So I'm not a macro fan, folks. It's kind of hard for me to talk to that. Like everything else, if it's not something that you do or you really want to do, you just don't follow it too much. To rattle the cage, Mike? Yeah, I am. I'm getting a bit beat down here. Yeah, I hear you, Roy. Yeah. And like I was telling them, or letting you guys know, I've done it with the 80 to 400. I've got some great dragonfly, damselfly photos. Are they really macro? No, they're close focus, and I can crop but if I'm going to do macro, that's what I'm going to use, or not true macro anyway. So yeah, I would agree with you. And for me, macro is that seeing the fly's eye, and that fills the frame or something like that. So again, I'm not a macro person. So, Hey folks, it's been great. I'm glad you all jumped in here tonight, and I've really enjoyed it, but I am getting beat, and I still got some cleanup here to do when we end the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. I hope everybody will be around Wednesday. I know everybody can't be necessarily, but you're welcome Wednesday at noon. That'll be the next show. And then back again Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see who we can't rustle up here for guests. It's always so much more fun when we got 2 or 3 people in here and get it going. And again, I've got the phone line set up here. My wife asked me again, why did you do that? But anyway, got the phone set up. So you guys are welcome to call in and any of the live streams. And it's a whole lot easier to, speak your question than trying to type it in 15 comments in the chat. But that's entirely up to you guys. Let's see. Should see the lenses needed for sub-macro. Yeah, I can imagine. All right. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I enjoyed it tonight too. So I think it was a very good very good show. I'm going to quit calling it a stream. Everybody calls it a stream. We're going to be completely different. You know, since it's now pretty much on schedule, it's going to be a show. So you guys are more than welcome at any of the live streams and shows that we do. And if you want to be on as a guest even, drop me an email. And let me throw that up here real quick. It's easy to find, but I'll just throw it up here. You can drop me an email and let me know that you'd like to be a guest, and we'll see if we can't arrange that as well. So, any last questions or anything else, folks? Thanks for hanging in here this long. Man, another great marathon show tonight. 3 hours, 19 minutes. Restream sent me a thing saying that they really appreciate my use of Restream. I'm in the top, what was it, 14% of Restreamers. Obviously, it's being used for a lot of businesses are using it, but so everybody, they're really happy though that I'm using it so much. So anyway, some more useless information there. God bless you all. I hope you have a wonderful night. I hope you have a wonderful finish to your weekend. And I hope to see you guys, gals, Wednesday if you're available. If not, just tune in and listen. Yeah, you won't miss anything by not watching, but tune in and listen. All right, folks. Everybody have a wonderful night. Thanks for being here. Drop a sub and a like if you would. It just motivates me to continue to doing more. So with that said, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest.